All right, and we are back with another episode of Liam Picks Fights. I am fired the heck up. I know that you guys are too. UFC 264. It's Conor McGregor fight week. Dustin Poirier, the Diamond, exacted his revenge in the rematch. We're doing it a third time. Rubber match. It's going to be a good one. I know that the entire fight community is fired up. And so I had to bring in the big guns. I had to bring in a couple of friends, a couple of people who are sharps in this game, guys that are excited to break down these fights along with me. We're going to break down the card from bottom to top with my man at Notorious_Picks, with my man at Z's MMA. I got to give a shout out. Z's MMA, God's mug. Get yourself one. Sip like a pro. Cheers. And I'll tell you, Z was one of the most supportive guys when I was getting into this space. And so I always be thankful for that. Appreciate you, my man. Now, let's get into these fights, boys. First and foremost, we've got Alen Amedovski and Yaozong. Who would like to get us started? Notorious, how about it?
All right, I can kick this off. So initially looking at the card, I was like, this is kind of the fight maybe I shouldn't even look into it because, both guys are kind of not that good. But then I decided, let me take a stab at it. And, looking at I don't even know how to say the Chinese guy's name. I would say, who? So I'll just say Chinese guy. So looking at his tape, the guy fought at heavyweight where I don't think he had any business being at. Then he came down to light heavyweight, and I see improvements from the guy. I think in the Cyril Asker fight, he just kind of got grapple fucked and, couldn't really get his game going. I think against Rashad, he actually showed some promise on the feet. I like his leg kicks. I like that he works the body. He has, those explosions where he comes in and just throws volume at you. And he also shows some durability because he got dropped in the first round, was able to come back, win the third, and it kind of came down to the second round in that fight. And he had a very good finish to the second round, but overall, I guess he dropped the fight. Now he had, I think, 3-year layoff and coming down to 185. I think that would be the good weight class for him. So I do have a lean on him here, and slightly because Alen Amedovski, man, I just don't know why he's in the UFC, to be honest. It's not even because he lost to John Phillips. I think, if John Phillips hits you on the button, a lot of guys could go down. So I don't really hold that performance against him that much. But the one before against Zhalgas, he looked very timid on the feet. It seems like he just kind of waits for that perfect shot. He doesn't throw much volume. He has no ground game from what I can tell, especially if he's on the bottom. So I think that this might become a sloppy kind of affair, and I would lean towards the guy that has more volume, that has a better heart to me. And so I'm gonna pick the Chinese guy to win and actually have a 1 unit on him at plus 120 because I don't think that he should be the dog here. So I had to take a stab.
Respect the pick, man. I really do. Z, do you want to give us your opinion as well, my friend?
Sure. I hope he's right. I hope Notorious is right because I have a bet on Yaozong Hu as well. I got in a bit early. I think this should be more of a pick 'em, so I bet it 1 unit at plus 150. It's a little bit speculative because, like he said, he has been off for 3 years, and that was actually because of a USADA suspension. So there's a kind of a red flag question mark there. But when you're dealing with a guy who is 23 and now 26, I think it's reasonable to expect some improvements, especially with the type of training he's getting. Guy has trained at Jackson's way back in the day. He's trained at they have I believe a UFC PI in China over there. He's also trained at Tiger Muay Thai. So he's definitely getting good looks. And like Notorious said, he has a good left hook. I like how he works the body. He is very durable. And again, I'll agree that Alen Amedovski, I don't really see any skill set that really jumps off the page at me. He's pretty much just a strong guy who hits really hard, but a little bit stiff in his striking approach, a little bit short range. And Yaozong actually has a lot of height and reach in this fight. Well, not necessarily reach, but he is 5 inches taller and dropping multiple weight divisions to come to 185. So I totally agree that who is going to look better at 185. And Alen Amedovski, I just don't know what warrants him being such a wide favorite. So I don't know if I would bet this if I wasn't getting the plus 150, because the way I see it with the speculation involved, it's more of a coin flip to me. But yeah, I definitely feel okay taking the shot at plus 150 and just capping this as a 50-50 fight. And since that line is gone, I don't think that using Yaozong and DraftKings is a bad idea either, because this could be a very, very cheap underdog who has an honest chance to get a win for you. So if you're watching this now, that would be my approach on trying to make some money on this fight.
Nice. And so I think you guys went even a little bit deeper on this one than I did. And I can tell you,
I had my contacts, man. I have my Chinese contact look into it. I actually did a video where I posted some of the training footage that I was able to see. He's in there hitting mitts with Li Jingliang. So yeah, he's getting good work in, and physically he looks to be in good shape.
Now, Z, I could tell you have put me on before to good content. And this is why I saw that training footage. I watched your video. And so I was convinced by your arguments. However, I felt like I had missed a lot of the value on the line. I'm still considering taking a small wager, but if it was available at plus 150 and I didn't get involved, now it's available at plus 115. There's still probably some value there. I think that this should be a pick'em type price. And the reason I say that is because, and shout out to @NumbersMMA, want to give him fair credit here as well. He talks about the more uncertainty there is, the more it should be a 50-50 situation. That's what that translates to in terms of fighting. And I feel like there's a lot of unknowns in this situation. And what we do know is that the size should likely favor the man who's come down 2 weight classes at this point. And on top of that, in the training footage that you produced, he looks physically in great condition. I've never been impressed by Alen Amedovski. His footage doesn't look good. The Jotko fight doesn't look good. And then,
I mean, let's be real though about Jotko. I forgot. I wanted to make that point. Sorry to cut you off, but
yes.
Like Jotko would beat Yaozong too, right? Like Jotko is a real
talented fighter. Yes.
It's
and
just
he would be a huge favorite against
right.
Yaozong. Absolutely. But I think that the other point to make there is that he's had 2 UFC fights and he's been credited with 8 strikes according to UFC stats.
Yeah, that's true.
So I will not be betting on him as a favorite. I could tell you that. It's a dog or pass situation for that reason alone, in my opinion. Amedovski hasn't proven anything yet. And so I don't know that he's a UFC level fighter. The UFC seems invested in this guy, Yaozong, who, if he's training at the PI, if they're keeping him around after losing 2 fights, letting him move down this 3rd weight class, giving him another opportunity, giving him, a real break in between fights here to get better. He's the younger guy. I feel like a lot of those things say he has a future in the UFC, whereas Alen Amedovski will be out of the UFC come Sunday night. But that's how I feel about the fight. Haven't put my money where my mouth is on that yet, but you guys have. So listeners, take that for what it's worth. Got a couple of people that are riding with the underdog in our very first fight of the night. So we will move right along. Zhalgas, Zhumagulov, and Jerome Rivera. Z's MMA. Would you like to kick us off on this one, brother?
Sure. This is one I wouldn't really hate people taking a bet on Rivera, but these are 2 fighters I'm generally pretty low on. I think I just don't think Rivera's at this level. I think with time, he can get to this level. And I think it would bode well for him to move up a division eventually. Or maybe he did here, I'm not sure. But yeah, I just don't think he's really at this level. But by the same token, like Zhalgas is the type of fighter who's just good enough to expose people's weaknesses, but he's not really good enough to push forward and do anything proactive at a high clip. Like if you go back and you watch his pre-UFC fights, a lot of those wins are very questionable decisions, very, very close fights. He gives ground really easily. Again, Rivera is going to be the younger, larger fighter in this fight. So I don't hate it, especially considering the line. He's like a 3-1 dog, but I don't know. I can't trust him with my money.
That seems very fair to me, given his track record thus far. Notorious, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the line is a bit wide, but then looking at Jerome Rivera and even his Contender Series fight, man, I don't even know if he won that fight, to be honest. It was a close one. I think he has weak physicality. I think he's really easy to just take down and control. The only range that he is good at is the kicking range, and I expect in the early goings for him to land a bunch of kicks, and it's going to be on Zhalgas to crash the pocket. What's up, Z?
I mean, I just know on Tapology at least, he was fighting at featherweight last time out, and now he's at this fight's at flyweight.
Yeah,
so I actually expected him to move up a division, and apparently he's dropping too. I don't know.
What happened was it was a very late notice. Someone dropped out, and he just stepped in on like weeks' notice. So, but he's actually a flyweight. He's always a flyweight. So. Yeah, so he's going back to his normal weight class, where he belongs. I mean, obviously he's going to have the reach advantage here, and like I said, I think he's going to land a bunch of kicks in the beginning. So I expect him to win the first few minutes because Zhalgas kind of starts a little bit slow, but then eventually Zhalgas just says "fuck it" and starts coming forward, crashing the pocket, and that's where Jerome Rivera's weakness comes. I think his boxing range sucks. His chin is questionable. He's easy to take down. I think Zhalgas will be able to get explosive takedowns. I mean, he took down Amir Albazi, and I think Amir Albazi is a pretty good wrestler and a pretty decent prospect. And against Paiva, I had Paiva live. I bet Paiva after, I think, first or second round. And when it went to the judges' scorecards, I wasn't sure I was going to get that decision. I mean, it was a very iffy, kind of a decision. I mean, I ultimately got the decision. But both of those guys, Paiva and Albazi, I mean, way higher level than Jerome Rivera. And like Z said, yeah, he's got some questionable decisions on the regional scene, but like those guys, Tagir Ulambekov and Ali Bagautinov, I mean, those guys are serious guys, you know. Like, so to me, the competition level is way different, but Zhalgas does fight close, so I would definitely not be putting him in my parlays or anywhere. So it's a complete pass, but I like betting dogs, but I just can't bet Jerome Rivera here, so.
I couldn't agree with you more. And what I noticed about this fight early on, I identified the holds. I went through, at least on betonline.ag, and I went through the holds for all the different fights. And Zhalgas Rivera was a 4.23% hold. So, you know, you gotta get those ones right a lot of the time in order to break even on those bets. And I think that especially in this situation, Zhalgas doesn't have a tremendous finishing upside. So you're really relying on an impressive judge's decision, to pay off that price, or perhaps, a lot of control time with the wrestling, which I don't think is outside of the realm of possibility based on the physicality alone. But I also think that given the physical advantages, the length and the reach of Rivera, I just wouldn't want to get involved on either side. This was a complete pass for me, and I didn't spend a tremendous amount of time thinking about it.
Yeah, one thing I'll add is if people want to bet Rivera, I think Rivera by decision, like plus 600 in some spots, I think that's a decent bet. I mean, personally, I don't want anything to do with it, but I just don't see a finishing upside for Rivera, and I think Zhalgas is pretty tough. So it could be kind of a dicey split decision, and then plus 600 is a pretty good ticket to hold. So there's that.
Yeah, on betonline.ag, it's been steamed down to plus 450. So they're on to you. They're on to you, brother.
Yeah, but, I think some Canadian books you can get it at 600 or something.
I hear that. So you could look for that out there if you want action on every fight on the card. But I'm gonna take a steady pass there, boys. And moving right along. Next fight on the card is one that I think is very quality. You know, this is a fight that could easily be, a main card fight on a fight night. Yeah, I feel like this is a pay-per-view opener type of fight. This is a solid fight between Omari Akmehdov, Brad Tavares, two middleweights, both pretty talented guys around the same age, around the same spot in their career. So I think it's right place, right time in terms of matchmaking. Should be a pretty darn competitive fight. And the odds sort of reflect that. It's one of the, in fact, I think it might be the lowest hold of any fight on the card, 2.99% hold. So if you want to take action and you want to, look for a fight to maybe target, I think this is one that I was definitely looking at for action. And, my problem in taking action on this fight is that I have winning tickets the last time both these gentlemen competed. So it makes me hesitant to bet against one of them now. However, based on the style matchup, I got to side with Brad Tavares here. Brad Tavares, phenomenal takedown defense. Phenomenal. I remember going through his tape, and he's not only solid, he's unorthodox. He does interesting things. When somebody picks up a single leg, he'll start punching you in the face. And I really like Brad Tavares' game. He's efficient with his energy and his striking. I think that a lot of what Brad Tavares does makes sense. Has he stumbled against the higher level guys? Yes. Has he stumbled especially against strikers that are really fast and can just blow him out of the water and get him guessing with a kicking game? Yes. Is Omari Akmehdov that guy? No. I think Omari is going to be trying to press a wrestling advantage in this fight. I think that when Omari is having difficulty pressing that wrestling advantage, he's going to start swinging big, wide hooks. I don't think that is something that, Brad is going to block every hook or something like that. But I think that his durability is such that, he should be able to survive. Omari Akmehdov has been credited with 2 knockdowns and, just a bevy of UFC fights. He's been around for a really long time. He's not really knocking people down. He's not recording a tremendous amount of finishes. So I think that Brad Tavares by decision is a pretty darn good look here. And I think that, Brad Tavares in round 3, I saw it at plus 1,000. I don't think that that's a bad look either. Omari Akmehdov has shown questionable cardio. He's a tough guy. He spends his energy in a fight. It's not for a lack of trying. He spends his energy in a fight, but I do think he's going to run into somebody who just has excellent takedown defense and is a bad stylistic matchup in Brad Tavares. Haven't put money behind Brad Tavares on the money line yet, although I do cap him, closer to minus 200 in this spot. Minus 195, I think, was my official cap for Brad Tavares here. So that's how I feel about it, boys. I'll kick it over to Notorious first. What do you think about this matchup, man?
Yeah, so I think this really comes down to me on Omari Akmedov's approach. I think it's pretty easy to guess what Brad Tavares is going to do. And with Omari, if he's trying to push the wrestling game plan, I think it's going to be bad news for him because Tavares, even if you take him down, I think he's got an exceptional get-up game. And, Omari is not really that great at controlling guys. And so I think that would be really bad for him. So, but if he stays on the feet and just decides to counter Brad Tavares, I think it could get dicey for Brad in spots. I think Omari is a bit underrated in terms of striking. It really, to me, it depends on how he's going to approach it with his energy usage. If he comes out like he has rabies in the first round, then he's going to gas, and then Tavares is going to pull away late. But if he's going to stay patient and wait for counters and just kind of – because Tavares doesn't push that incredible pace. So it really will be on Omari not to gas himself out. And if he doesn't, then I see the fight closer than what the odds suggest. So for me, I wouldn't personally get involved pre-fight. I want to see how it plays out in the first round because I think there's a good possibility that Omari wins the first round, but really depends how much energy he spends in that first round. So if he spends a lot of energy, you might get plus money on Brad Tavares between rounds, and that would be a good spot. I don't hate Brad Tavares in round 3, like you mentioned, at plus 1,000. I think that's a decent look there. But yeah, it really comes down to what Omari is going to do. And but pre-fight, I think the odds are a little bit wide for me to get involved on Tavares. But ultimately, I do kind of lean his way. But yeah, I could see a variety of things of happening here. So I wouldn't be surprised if Omari cracks him. I think the closest stylistic matchup that Tavares had is Tim Bosch to Omari, and he died in that fight. So I'm not saying that's what's going to happen here, but I'm just saying that's the most closest stylistic matchup in the past. So, yeah, and Omari does throw hard, and Brad could get cracked, so there's that read as well. So, but for now, I'm not going to put any money on it, and I'll just watch that first round and see what happens.
I hear that.
I agree with you guys. Pretty much everything you said. I do think this is going to be the type of fight that Brad wins a close fight at a really high clip, if that makes sense. Like the fight will play out close, but he probably wins a 29-28 a lot of the times this plays out theoretically. I agree he's got tremendous takedown defense, and that if Omari's trying to grapple him heavy, he's going to gas out and potentially get finished late. But I also agree with Notorious that Omari could crack Tavares. I just think that's pretty low percentage. As far as I'm concerned with the odds and where I'd want to bet it, if Brad was minus 150, I think I would get involved there because, like I said, I think he's going to win like an awkward looking fight, but like the majority of the time, just chip away. I like his boxing technique much better. I like his process much better. But Omari's, he's no joke. He's a big, strong guy, really tough, really strong. And yeah, he can make it a close fight, but I do think Brad's going to edge this one the vast majority of the time.
I have a question for you both. What do you think is the percentage that Omari wins round one, though?
I don't know. I mean, I could see each round playing out close, so that gives credence to your take that you'll probably get a better number after the first round. So okay. Yeah, I agree with that if you wanted to hold off.
Yeah, I think I would get involved if Tavares is plus money and Omari expended too much energy. So that's my best read, I think.
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan. And I think that I would just raise awareness of Akmehdov by points plus 250. I don't know that that's horrible either. Tavares by points plus 130. I feel like whatever side you're going to get involved on, I feel like this fight is very likely to go over 2.5 rounds. Either guy could get cracked. It's a middleweight fight. But I do think that this is a fight that goes to decision more often than not. And like you guys said, I feel like Brad Tavares edges it more often than not, but at minus 165, do you want to get involved? Maybe not. But it's a closely lined fight for the book too. I don't know that the book has that strong a read here.
I forget who it was. I was talking to somebody, and I apologize because I honestly forget who it was. Maybe I'll find it here. But somebody I know took Tavares by decision and then also has Tavares just to win, just in case Omari does gas out in the third and Brad gets a late finish. So I don't mind splitting it up that way because then you're increasing your odds overall, and you're still covered in case,
right,
Omari does die in the third.
Fair enough. And I do think you guys are right to identify that as a live betting opportunity as well. So that's something that I don't do as often. I like to be selective in my spots there because there's nothing that would piss me off more than if I get a winning night and I lose it betting live. But it
might go the other way. You might be down in the cover line.
I've definitely done that before. I've cashed out of bets and tripled up on the other guy going, oh no, I was wrong and I've got to get out and go big the other way. And that has saved me before too. So
it was, by the way, it was Joey Jitsu or MMA Triple J on Twitter. He's a sharp dude. Always good going back and forth with him, discussing fights. He's the guy who has Tavares by decision and then Tavares to win as well.
Okay. Heck yeah. I agree with your read, sir. And I might get involved myself, especially at that plus number, Tavares by points, because I feel like that's a lot of his win equity. But we'll wait and see how that plays out. Next fight on the card, man. I feel like we just built up and we're going to have to do this peaks and valleys.
Don't worry, I'll carry this one.
Oh, I love it. If somebody's got action here, boys, save me. Jennifer Maia, Jessica I. Z, you sound like you're excited. Go.
I just don't know why it's so wide, man. I sent a tweet out with the Gandalf clip where it's like the fight, I'm not intending to bet it, but then when you take a look at it, you're kind of just like, why is Jessica I plus 150 here? Like Jennifer Maia does not go for takedowns at a high clip. She's pretty plodding. I mean, it looks like an ugly split decision pitter-patter type fight. So I just don't know what's making Jennifer Maia a minus 200. I think it's a lot of recency bias. People, she won a round versus Valentina Shevchenko, and people are generally low on Jessica I. So I understand why the line is what it is. I don't know if I agree with that as far as like what the actual percentages of who wins this fight are. But then again, do I want to be sitting with $100 on Jessica I when they're facing off and fighting? And like, not really. She gets hit a lot. She's really low volume. I mean, it's just such an ugly fight, but the definition of a dog or pass, in my opinion. So that's why when I looked at it, I was just kind of like, man, sometimes it's better not to look at the fights because then you don't get sucked into these kind of spots. But it looks like value on Jessica Eye, in my opinion, if you're getting plus 150 or better, because like I said, it's going to play out slow paced. It's going to be pitter patter. She's probably going to have success with her hands down the pipe. I don't think there's much of a takedown threat from Maia. I mean, she submitted Calderwood, but that was because Calderwood tripped her and got on top. And I mean, Jennifer, look at
would you put it past Jessica Eye to make such a mistake, though?
Hey, exactly. Like, how can I trust her, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, how can I trust her? But I
think she's the value side. I would agree with that.
Sorry, what was that?
I said I do think she is the value side. I would agree with that. Notorious, you add something?
Yeah. Well, are you done, Z, with your breakdown, or I mean?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's not much to say. I mean, it's just one of those fights where I don't know what's making Jennifer Maia such a big favorite.
I mean, I think you actually answered your own question when you said she won the round versus Valentina. I think that's exactly what it is. And Jessica Eye completely died in that fight versus Valentina. So I think people just kind of doing that quick math. And but when you actually look at the betting odds history for both women, Jennifer Maia, she's actually the biggest favorite she's ever been in the UFC fight.
Exactly.
And she fought Alexis Davis and Roxy Modafferi, and she was a smaller. She was actually a dog against Alexis Davis, and she was a favorite versus Roxy, but it was minus 130. And when you look at Jessica Eye, she actually fights really well as an underdog. She beat Vivi Araujo when she was at plus 160, which is about the same line as here. She beat Caitlin.
Which is crazy because what would Vivi be against Maia, right? Like Vivi's a minus 230 there.
Could be, because she does have those gas tank issues. So you know what I mean? Like if it gets laid, Vivi is always suspect. But you know what I mean? Like I like Vivi in this game. So yeah. And then she was plus 175 against Chukagan. She won that fight too. So I actually took a shot on Jessica Eye at plus 160. I put 2 units there. I just don't see a skill gap between those two at all. Like I think they're pretty close. I think in my mind, I mean, if Jennifer Maia was minus 120 and Jessica was plus 110 or something, I probably wouldn't get involved. But at plus 160, that's a joke to me. That just doesn't make any sort of sense. And that's why I had to take a stab at her, because actually she lands more strikes per minute than Jennifer Maia slightly. They both get hit about the same. And really, whoever's sharper on the night is going to win. And, if that's the case, and in my mind it's 50-50-ish, then plus 160, I have to take that every single time. So, and that's what I'm going to do. I don't see a finishing upside for either girl. It's probably going to be a greasy split decision. I think Jessica Eye is going to come in a better shape than she was against Cynthia Calvillo. She had a rough wake up there. And actually in that fight, I just rewatched it today because I was like, I had a ticket on Cynthia Calvillo. And Jessica won the first round against her. And in the 5th round, she came on strong and won the first 3.5 minutes and then got taken down at the end. So even with the bad weight cut, she was fighting and won rounds against Cynthia Calvillo. And I think she's going to be in better shape here than she was there. And plus 160, I had to take a shot on that. So, yeah, that's my take.
And one thing I like, I think it's Die Hard who says this, but it's like some of the best, the hardest bets to make are usually the best because that's why they're good bets, because no one's willing to make it and adjust the market, right? So it's like, I agree with all the sentiments. It's just such a greasy spot. Like, what are we doing here, boys?
I hear you.
Betting the dog, man.
Now, there's 2 things to consider. Number one, we got somebody just dropped a comment in the chat. He also said, what's up to Z and the other chaps. So hello to you, John. But he says there's been reports Jessica Eye has been training out of her garage, coming off of 4 losses, including grappling bouts. You'd think she would get help, LOL. Now, I would say this. I was eyeing the Jessica Eye by decision at plus 210 because I feel like that encompasses a lot of her win equity. But I also think that there's not a tremendous amount of difference. Probably safer to take the plus 160, but really what kind of finishing upside does Jessica Eye have in this spot? I feel like
one thing I want to say, we've had some freaky injuries in the last month or so. I mean, what's her name? The Japanese girl snapping her arm, and
Against Verna, that makes sense though.
Right. Well, Chris Weidman, there's that.
That one, I was on the Chris Weidman side. That one really hurt my.
You never know. I mean, I think there isn't enough difference between the money line and decision to, I think money line is the way to go there, personally.
I hear you.
As long as Jennifer Maia's ears
and I saw it at plus 250. What's that?
I said, as long as Jennifer Maia's ears stay on her head, then it can be a decision. But I agree with Notorious, though. Just comparing the two, I would opt for the money line because this is MMA. You never know what's going to happen.
Straight up, somebody could get DQ'd.
Exactly. Yeah.
Someone Aljamain Sterling.
Oh man, I'm a huge Aljamain Sterling fan. I met him in person. He's a sweetheart of a guy, but that was an unfortunate outcome. I will leave it at that. Moving on to one
honestly,
that I
what
know
I'll say,
he is fired up about. Yes.
If I can just touch on the Aljamain Sterling thing. Look, I think it was definitely questionable, but I also think he's well within his right to just take that win. You know what I mean? Like he did get, absorb a hellacious strike. So he's within his right, but it was definitely an acting job there.
Chael Sonnen says, never forget the golden rule. He with the gold rule. That's it, boys. That's it, boys. It's basic human incentives. You say to a man, you're the champion. Mm-hmm. I mean, dude, I just feel like a lot of people are high and mighty about I would never do that. Okay. Right. Maybe you wouldn't do that. When's the last cage fight you got into, sir?
Then Alan Patrick went the same route too. He was like, all right, I'm just gonna take a no contest here after he was about to get finished by Mason Jones, but I guess.
I gave Mason Jones Inside the Distance as my lock of the night on MMA Lock of the Night show plus money.
Did it push though, or was it a loss?
It was a push. It was a push. They gave it back, but I was still mad.
Such a good bet.
For sure.
We've got next up a fight that I'm pretty fired up about. I feel like this is going to be an absolute banger on the prelims. And I feel like this fight is destined for a finish. And I know that that's a little outlandish. I'm now going to have to knock on wood because I have a small wager on it as well. But I have this fight not to go to decision. This fight is Dricus du Plessis and Dricus du Plessis. I'm not South African. I'm trying my best, folks. And then Trevin Giles on the other side, a Texan. That's one that I can pronounce. So I think that this is a really fascinating fight at 185 pounds. You got Trevin Giles, who's a lot more UFC tested. And then you've got Dricus du Plessis, who's, got a pretty shiny record. He's got some interesting regional footage to consume. I don't know if you guys took in those Soldich fights. I thought that he looked very good for portions, and he also was getting rocked all over the place for other portions, but his grappling looks a little slick in transition. I was impressed by some of the guillotines he was pulling off where, guillotines are one of my favorite moves, and he was transitioning to the position quickly, not giving people an exit, and his hands were in the right spot. A lot of people are going for, all around the body, arm in guillotines that are hard to pull off, and he's getting that short grip around the neck, the prayer type guillotine that's really, really tight and makes people tap fast, even if they're tough guys, because they're going to go to sleep. And I think that, it's a really fun fight. I couldn't pick a side. I think that Trevin Giles has proven more, so I would make him a slight favorite in my mind. I think that, either guy is liable to be finished here. We've never seen du Plessis go to decision. So I think that this is a fight that I feel like du Plessis forces a fight. And, he kind of looks spastic in the Marcus Perez fight for a little while, but I think that was just jitters, man. And a lot of people feel him, but he worked through them fast. And I also think he was landing in the exchanges. He looked a little stiff and timid at first, but as he started to loosen up, he was just finding lasering shots on Marcus Perez, kind of knocking his head back several times before the finish. And so when I watched that live, I was like, man, this guy kind of stinks. But then I rewatched it and I was like, man, he's not as bad as I thought. He was just, going through reasonable jitters. And I think that he has proven a little bit in terms of his regional wins. So I'm excited to see the future for both of these guys. How do you guys feel about this one? Notorious, why don't you kick us off?
Well, first of all, I want to say that Trevin Giles is on the forever no bet list for me, because the way in that Roman Dolidze fight in the last round, you have a guy who's completely gassed, and you don't push the pace on him. Then you actually drop him, and then what do? You go into the grappling world, whereas the only way you can lose this fight is if you give Dolidze a heel hook or something, and he almost gave that fight away. So I think a wise man once said that you can't fix stupid, and I think Trevin Giles' fight IQ is very low. So for that reason, he's never going to be a guy that I'll put money on. At the same time, I understand some people like him. There are some qualities about him, right? He does have good hands. He has good accuracy. He has power, so he can hurt you. But he is the kind of guy that's going to find a way, or at least given his opponent a way to win versus what's that guy's name? Plessis. Yeah. So he actually is the guy. Yeah, he might be losing, but then he finds a way to win. He has that kind of a deft touch with his hands for some reason, and he's a good grappler. So I think I would always back the fighter that is a smarter guy. But at the same time, I don't really want to get involved in this fight. Plessis, he does have some questionable tendencies on the feet defensively where he can get cracked. But I wouldn't be surprised if he finds a finish. Honestly, plus 500 on him by submission is tempting. I think that's two of Trevin's losses are by submission. So that is kind of tempting, but personally, I don't really want to get involved in this fight pre-fight. Maybe the weigh-ins, the face-offs, the walkout, something changes my mind, but it will definitely not be money on Trevin Giles. So that's my read there.
I'm about to kick it over to you, Z, but I just wanted to say from a betting perspective that I think that Giles ITD plus 325 is probably value. Based on the fact that Duplessis is a kill or be killed type fighter. Every one of his losses coming inside the distance. And also he has been hurt even in fights that he's won where he was rocked all over the place. And I think Trevin Giles hits a Mack truck. Now, granted, I agree with some of Notorious's other concerns, which is why I think that it is a fight with a lot of uncertainty. And I also...
Oh, we lost him.
We lost Liam. I'll jump in, though. I got money on Trevin Giles, man.
Can everybody hear?
There you go.
Yep.
You're back.
Sorry about that, lad. What I was saying was that the hold on this fight was 4.55% at its current indication of minus 110 each way. So the book is making money big time on current bets on this fight. Z, I think you got involved a little earlier. Is that correct?
Yeah, I bet Giles at plus 105. It was one of the first first spots I took. I just think the boxing edge is huge. The deftness he has is way better than Dricus, in my opinion. I think Dricus hits hard with that left hook and he stays busy with the low kicks. But I think Giles is going to make him look silly on the feet when he just shells up. Dricus likes that traditional shell. Trevin has a jab that can split that guard. He's got much better timing. He's got much better defensive reactions. And fair play to your worries about, a guillotine being snatched up. I don't think that warrants this to be a pick'em. I think I would put Giles at minus 150. And I think, again, this is a case where the public is generally low on Giles because he dropped the ball in a couple spots and because he just had a close fight versus Dolidze. But Dolidze is a totally different archetype than Duplessis. Duplessis is kind of primarily a striker, not really a good wrestler at all, and hits hard. But Roman is a savage, a physical beast. So when you're in there grappling with that guy, and yeah, I agree, Giles' fight IQ isn't the best because he can be low volume and he entertained the grappling there more than he should. But I think Roman is much more physically imposing than Dricus, and I think Giles is a much better grappler overall than Dricus, despite having been submitted a couple times. It was in the third round versus better grapplers than Dricus, and he was also looking decent in those fights. Not to mention, I think Giles has a cardio advantage. And again, he got tired in the last fight, but Dricus has never been 15 minutes in a professional fight. And of the times that he went into the third round, he's only won 2 of those 4 times. So, I think Trevin's going to knock Dricus out. I think that UFC debut was very meme-ish. And the biggest point here, though, is I'm expecting to see a very, very large edge in the boxing. When they're throwing hands, I think Giles makes him look silly. And that's my take.
Now, one thing I want to introduce, and I appreciate that take, and I do think that Trevin Giles, again, because of the UFC experience, I think that is something that probably doesn't get enough respect. And he has, a lot of UFC fights, more than I realized he had, like fights I had long since forgotten about. And then I would also point out, though, what concerned me a little bit in that Zach Cummings fight is that, number one, he was definitely starting to tire in the third round. And number two, he got bombed by Zach Cummings. That was really why he got finished, was that he got club and sub there. I wouldn't even credit like the submission chops of Zach Cummings. It wasn't the tightest guillotine. He had to readjust it like 3 times and keep holding on to it. But Trevin, I think, was so rocked that he couldn't really get back and couldn't get his defense together, even though he almost got out of the position. So I thought that, it's a fight that favors a finish. That's what I'll say. I think that both guys leave vulnerabilities. I would also point out that Trevin Giles was like getting routinely leg and body kicked in the fight against Cummings. I feel like he is a boxer at heart. Like, he just wants to get out there and throw hands. And for that reason, he gets kicked pretty routinely, and Duplessis has a pretty decent kicking game. So I feel like it's a fun ass fight. I feel like it's a high exchange rate fight, a high variance fight. Somebody's probably going to go down. Somebody could get submitted on either side, I feel like, and somebody could get club and subbed. I don't trust the durability tremendously either way. Both guys have been hurt and rocked, and both guys have been finished. So I think that should be good fun. And, the middleweight average is like 57 point something percent for a finish. And that's what this fight was lined at, -135 for the fight doesn't go to decision. But if you look at both guys' career, Duplessis has never been to a decision in 17 fights. And, Giles, I think it's 13 out of 15, 86 point something percent. So I'm willing to take that risk. 0.65 units, I think I went on the fight doesn't go to decision. So that's how I attacked
I like that.
I like that as well. I think I might throw that in a parlay or two. So that's my read there.
And we're competing with more of a hold on the prop market. It's closer to 6%, but I really feel like we have a bigger edge here. I feel like they're just going by the weight class average, and we're factoring in how likely these guys are to get in there and exchange. And I think both of them are highly likely to get in there and exchange. So let's throw leather, boys. Somebody go down. That's all I ask.
Well, speaking of going down, like all 4 of their losses have been finishes, so that gives credence to your take again. So yeah, I don't hate that angle at all, man.
Yep.
Appreciate it. I might even go a little bigger. I was hoping that money might come in the other way. Trevin Giles has been winning some decisions lately, so I was hoping people might try and snipe that angle, but seems like it's been hanging out at the same price. So we'll take it for what it is, boys. Moving right along. This is like the people's main event, the Twitter main event. I don't know what you want to call it. We got Ryan Hall on the one side. We got Ilia Topuria on the other. And this is an absolute banger of a matchup. I've been saying it about a lot of fights on this card, and I think that that's the sort of card that we're in for, boys. 145 pounds, absolute meat grinder of a division. So many freaking studs. Hard to make a name in that weight class at this point. What do you guys think? I'll kick it over to Z first. I think we had Notorious lead the last time. Z, how do you feel about this freaking puzzle in front of us?
Yeah, I mean, I think the right guy is favored. Like, Ilia is a legit prospect, younger fighter. His body work looks amazing. His striking is really good overall. He's a good grappler in his own right. But Ryan Hall is just such a frustrating guy to fight. I mean, I mean, how many yellow cards would he get if this was the old Pride days where they, punished timidity, like, and with all due respect, because I understand the tactics he's using, right? Like if someone pressures him, he'll just flop to his back because no one's going to follow him there. It makes sense, but I just don't know how you cap that, right? Like, because he throws all these like goofy kicks from the outside. Ilia is going to be pressuring him, looking for hands, and then Ryan's just going to pull guard. If Ilia goes down, maybe he fares all right on the ground. Who knows? But Ryan Hall is, of course, very dangerous down there. So this is just a very, very bizarre fight. I think the rightful side is favored, but I don't really want to push that farther when I'm capping the fight. So to me, I'll pick Ilia Topuria to win a goofy-looking decision. But I think the other way you could look at this fight is if you take Ilia and then hedge it with Hall by submission. I thought that was a pretty big number. At least a little while ago, I saw it out there like plus 600 range. But
yeah, it seems to have closed, but probably not market wide. It definitely on some of the major books, it's down to plus 450 and stuff. People have been seeing that and taking advantage.
Yeah. But I mean, it's kind of a cop out, but I just think it's a very goofy fight. Like, how do you train for Ryan Hall? I said, you got to get one of those bobs, those punching things, and then just don't fill the base with anything, because that's what you're going to be dealing with. But I don't know. I'll take Ilia though. I think Ilia is a real well-rounded, young, athletic beast of a fighter, and he should probably win. But as far as putting it into practice, who knows?
I hear you. And before I kick it back over to you, Notorious, one thing I just want to introduce here. We've got a height advantage of 3 inches and a reach advantage of 1 inch. Southpaw versus Orthodox. I'm just going to put those things out there. That's Ryan Hall. A couple interesting things to note. Now, granted, we also got a big age advantage in favor of Ilia Topuria. I like to pay attention to some of those things. I think I take it into account when I'm trying to cap these fights out. And man, it makes it tricky. I don't like when there's a big age gap going against me. Even if I'm targeting this kind of underdog spot on Ryan Hall. I could also point out real quick as I hand it over to you here, Topuria Hall, 3.56% hold at minus 250 plus 210, the current indication on Bet Online. I feel like this is kind of a tough fight to approach from a betting perspective. I feel like Topuria is obviously the clear favorite based on his performances in the octagon and his youth, but I don't know. What do you think, Notorious? Quinn says, "What's up?" By the way.
What up, Quinn?
What up?
Yeah, so I think what I like the most in this fight, I think, is fight doesn't go to distance. Honestly, I think I struggle to see any other way how Ryan Hall wins this fight, but finding a finish, because Ilia Topuria is an aggressive guy. I expect him to come forward. He's going to land more shots, more volume. I think he is very live to hurt Ryan Hall. But on the flip side, if Ilia Topuria is overconfident in his grappling, maybe Ryan Hall can catch him with something. So I think that's the angle that I have on this one. I do lean Topuria's way. I just think he's a legit prospect. I think he is next to Mavzar Evloev. I think he's my second favorite prospect in the division. Wow. I think a fight between those two would be absolutely phenomenal if that ever happens. But yeah, I mean, I like what I see from Ilia Topuria, and I don't think that Ryan Hall is necessarily the style that beats Ilia Topuria. I think the style that beats Ilia Topuria is the guy that can stuff his takedowns and hurt him on the feet, because I've seen Ilia Topuria get rocked on the regional scene. So, maybe durability is not the best. Also, he did get tired against what's his name, Zalal, at the end of the third round. But I mean, he was so far ahead on the scorecards that there's a lot of grappling transitions there, and I think he took it on the short notice too. So that maybe played a factor there. But I just don't see Ryan Hall as the kind of guy that is gonna beat Ilia Topuria. I think he's gonna throw those wheel kicks. Maybe he can club him and sub him, but I mean, I don't know. I think that's a pretty low probability, and I think Topuria can find a finish. So if I was playing anything, which I might parlay the last fight doesn't go to distance with this one. just for a unit. I think that could be the spot. I think minus 160 is not too bad. So yeah, that's my take here.
This one is absolutely vexing to me, and I would like to see these two guys next to each other to get a better idea of the size matchup that we're going to see. I think Ilia is obviously going to be bricked up relative to Ryan Hall. I think he's a much superior athlete physically, but I also think that there are levels to the jiu-jitsu game. There are levels of technicality. I think that Ilia Topuria likes grappling. I think I think he averaged like 4 or whatever takedowns per 15 minutes so far in his UFC run through 2 fights. So he's a takedown pressure guy. And I also think that there's interesting setups from Ryan Hall that are unique. I feel like he's a thinking man's fighter. He is like the opposite of a scary athlete. He's like the ultimate strategist. Who's trying to do exactly what he needs to do to win a fight. So I do think that that's an interesting veteran type of guy to try and take on. Now, you'd want a veteran to have more experience and to have more activity, and Ryan doesn't have those things, but I do think he has grappling acumen. I do think he has an interesting, hard to read striking game. I think it's hard to prepare for a guy like Ryan Hall, for better or for worse. It's like a one-time, you get one shot at cracking the code of Ryan Hall. But I do think that Topuria is going to out-physical him. I think that Topuria could probably hang for a minute in a grappling exchange and get out and bail based on his own grappling experience. So I think that you got to favor him here, but I also think that, I don't think it's a lock that Ryan Hall is going to get finished. I think that he might get booed all the way to a 30-27. I still think that he's in the self-preservation business. I think that he is also going to be, clever about how he approaches his opportunities. I don't think he's just going to be looking for ankle locks or something in this fight. I feel like he's probably going to have a plan A and a plan B and a plan C. Is he going to be able to pull it off? I'm not sure, but I also think betting against Ryan Hall, when you have to lay that kind of juice and you got a guy so clever, I think that, he's a thoughtful guy. He wouldn't take this opportunity if he didn't have a path in mind to winning this fight. So I think that Ryan Hall, interesting challenge for anybody in the division. I won't be betting this fight, but I will be interested in watching it. I think it's a fantastic fight.
Are you picking him to win though?
No, I would favor Topuria, but I would favor him minus 165, something like that. And I feel like it might play out different than that, but I feel like there's a lot of unknowns in this matchup. We haven't gotten to see a real challenge for Ryan Hall yet. And I also think that Ilia Topuria hasn't been challenged yet in the UFC. Yusuf Salal, probably not a UFC level talent after all. I had thought highly of him, but, wasn't able to win decisions, was losing, on low activity. And that's not somebody that the UFC is going to keep around. So interesting fight though, guys. I think that Topuria, the rightful favorite, but it's a fight I want nothing to do with from a betting perspective. I feel like the book's going to make a lot of money. And I feel like a lot of people probably have Ryan Hall tickets at that plus money, but I'm not sure, man. I feel like putting this in a parlay in terms of the Ilia money line, the fight not to go to decision, I could see both guys finishing. So I see that, but I also think that this is a fight that I find very difficult to picture in my head exactly how it's going to play out. You got two kind of strange styles matching up. So I feel like there's a lot of unanswered questions there, which again, the more questions I can't answer, the more it pushes the line closer to 50-50 in my mind, at least. So moving right along, this is like banger after banger after freaking banger, boys. Niko Price, Michel Pereira, welterweight clash. Good fun are both of these gentlemen. Michel Pereira has been a little more patient, a little more steady-handed of late, able to string a couple wins together. Niko Price probably been fighting the higher level of competition, but, been in a lot of damaging fights, a lot of wars. I think that this is an interesting match Big style clash. Notorious, what do you think? Start us off, man.
Yeah, I think here it comes down to what kind of Michel Pereira we get. I think that I think Niko Price is I think he's kind of what's the word? He comes in with a similar game plan all the time. I think he comes in to throw heavy shots. He doesn't mind getting hit. He's always dangerous, but he's kind of flat-footed. He doesn't have the best movement. He's going to be the slower guy here. So Michel, if he's on his game, I think he beats Niko Price. But the problem with Michel Pereira is that the guy can come in super focused like he did against Zhalgas, right? But he got slapped at the weigh-in, so I think that played a factor in there. I think he was really mad, and he looked like he wanted to just fuck that guy up, which he did. And then against KS Williams, I think he respected KS's power, so he stayed pretty sharp there as well, and utilized his grappling at the end to get the last round and ultimately get the decision. But then at the same time, when he fought Tristan Connolly, man, what the hell was he doing there? He came in, he's doing backflips, trying to pass the guard with a backflip. He's jumping off the cage. He gasses out within the first round, and then he allows Tristan Connolly to win a decision. But I think partly that was due to him not respecting the skill level of Tristan Connolly. I mean, the size difference was so huge. He thought that he's just going to walk over the guy. And I think he kind of realizes that Niko Price is more dangerous. So if we get Michel Pereira, who is focused, I think he beats Niko Price, at a pretty high clip. But then at the same time, if we don't, Niko can definitely out-volume him down the stretch, because I think Niko has cardio edge. And even though he did gas out against Cowboy Cerrone, I think his game plan there was to kill Cowboy within the first 2 minutes. I mean, he threw an outrageous amount of strikes, and then he just gassed out. I had a Niko Price KO ticket there. And once the first 2 minutes went by, and I think he poked him in the eye, I was like, yeah, the ticket is not cashing. I could just tell that, he gassed. But against Vicente Luque, he went all 3 rounds. I mean, I thought he was on the way to win a decision until his eye closed. I mean, it was a very close fight. But I don't expect that kind of affair here. I think Michel Pereira's movement is a lot better than Vicente Luque's. So ultimately, I don't really want to play Niko Price here. I think the best time to enter here is after round 1. I think Michel Pereira, if Michel Pereira is looking like he's gassing, I think Michel wins the first round at a pretty high clip. But then it depends how much energy he spends in that first round. Is he fucking around doing backflips and all that shit? Or is he actually, just throwing efficient strikes, those kicks to the body that he has? So yeah, I mean, it really depends. And the other thing that I want to mention, Niko Price has taken a lot of damage. At some point that will catch up to you. I'm not sure if it will here or not. But yeah, so that's why I didn't really want to play Niko at plus 140. But if I see something I like live, I might get involved. But for now, it's going to be a pass, and I'll pick Michel Pereira.
Fair enough. Z, we'll kick it to you, man.
I'll be back.
Pretty short take for me here. It's weird seeing Niko the dog, because generally I think he's a bit higher up on the rankings and things like that, but stylistically, especially in the larger octagon, I think Michel Pereira can really move on this guy, really move around him, and it's going to take Niko landing a kill shot to win, because I see the minutes being won by Pereira. Just too mobile. He's younger. He's larger. He's super athletic. Explodes in and out. And honestly, when he is on his game, he looks really good. He looks really capable of closing the gap and staying away from danger. And I really do think that the Tristan Connolly fiasco is the exception to the rule. I don't think he's going to come in here doing backflips and gas out against a dude. You got to think Tristan was coming in on short notice, moving up a division, and looked like, when you saw them face off, I was just like, oh, this is over. But so yeah, really a ball dropping moment from Michel Pereira there. But I do respect Niko Price a lot. He's a very capable fighter, potent finisher. So I wouldn't put it past him to win, but am I really like confident in picking him or calling this a 50-50? Not really, because stylistically I do think Pereira is going to be really evasive and outpoint him. But am I trusting the Pereira line? Nah, this is a pretty easy fight for me to pass, if I'm being honest.
We got Lucrative MMA in the live stream, says Z Gregor rocking the full man bun. Must be a Conor McGregor fight week or
it's
something.
It's not Conor, it's COVID. We're still locked down in Ontario, bud. Can't go anywhere. I can't even leave my home.
That's unreal, Z. I am devastated to hear that, buddy. James, thank you for hopping in the chat, man. Happy to have you. Welcome aboard. Z Gregor, Mystic Mac, all of his predictions are going to come true. That's how I feel about it. Now, regarding this fight, boys, I could say right now I have no action yet on this fight. This is a fight that, I feel like potential angle here is that the fight is going to go under. Let me see. No, it's under 1.5 rounds. I probably wouldn't even look to get involved there. I'd prefer the under 2.5 if I was to get involved. But I do feel like the durability is not great on either side, honestly. I feel like Niko Price has sort of already spent himself in a lot of wars, and he's susceptible to go down if Michel Pereira hits him with one of these power shots. And I also think that Pereira does not have the best durability himself. He got knocked out badly by Disco Todorovic.
That was weird, man. It was
a weird looking knockout. But granted, Dusko is a 185er. This is a welterweight fight. But Niko's got tremendous power. We know that about him. And he does throw a lot of volume. So we can expect that this is going to be a high exchange rate type of fight if Niko's getting the fight that he wants. And if not, he's probably getting picked apart at range, trying to chase after Pereira, who's probably the more mobile fighter. So I think that pretty decent finishing upside, but because it's at the under 1.5 space, I'm not even going to look to get involved, though it is plus money for what it's worth. So moving right along the card, we got Max Griffin, Carlos Condit. I'm kind of surprised that this fight is so high up on the card, given some of the other bangers we've already discussed, but it is the natural born killer. He gets a lot of respect in this organization, as he damn well should. But he is not getting that respect on the money line this week. Plus 170 for Carlos Condit, minus 195 on the other side for Max Payne Griffin, who, funny anecdote, I accidentally labeled him the native psycho and Max Payne Griffin in the same Instagram post, and he lit me up in my DMs. And thank goodness for me, he's a nice guy about it. Let me off the hook, otherwise I'd have to go into hiding or something. Don't want Max Payne Griffin after you. But I will say this, it's a really entertaining looking fight. 170 pounds, a weight class where should be highly competitive. You got two guys kind of deceptively old. I think most people would think of Carlos Condit that way, but got Max Payne Griffin on the other side, 35. It's now or never really, and probably already past it in terms of an opportunity to make a real run up the welterweight ladder. But I will say, I think that we see, probably the best form to date from Max Griffin in his recent fights. And I think that, we also have Carlos Condit, who is sort of scraping out these wins over, the Legends Tour, the Court McGee's of the division, the Matt Browns of the division. And I think that Court McGee fought a really frustrating game plan that was absolutely baffling watching it live. I don't believe I had money either side there, but I just remember thinking, man, if you had a Court McGee ticket, you're probably just frustrated with Court, the guy who's getting taken down over and over and over throughout his UFC career, never had great takedown defense, and he doesn't attempt any takedowns. It's like he just let the fight pass him by in these low-paced striking exchanges with Condit, which favored Condit from the outset. So then you got Condit versus Brown. I bet 1.5 units on Matt Brown plus 170 in that spot. And I was really disappointed by the cardio of Matt Brown there. I felt like Condit showed better takedown defense for whatever that's worth, but it's against, a pretty ancient Matt Brown, 40 years old at that point. And Matt Brown, a very functional striker, not the most well put together grappling game. He was getting swept from weird positions and like not holding good position in that fight. I think that we probably will see better grappling out of Max Payne Griffin than we saw out of freaking Matt Brown. So I think that, takedowns are a path here for Max Griffin. I think that takedowns are a path for most modern UFC welterweights against Carlos Condit. But that being said, Max Griffin isn't always insistent on his takedowns. Oftentimes he's waiting until it's later in a fight, almost letting the opportunity pass him by to win a fight with his grappling. And I think that because he's been scoring some, big shots on the feet, he's probably feeling good about that. I would be concerned if I was backing Max Payne Griffin as almost 2-1 favorite, that he's not going to engage in enough grappling to justify his price. And he might leave the door open for Carlos Condit here. That's how I feel about the fight. I don't have any action on it right now. I want to see how these guys look at weigh-ins and see how they square off as well. But it's an interesting fight, and it's a fight that doesn't have a massive hold on it either. 3.04% hold, minus 195 versus plus 170. So there might be some value to be had, but what is the side? That's the real question, boys. I will kick it over to Z first this time. Z, what do you think?
Sure, bud. I'm taking Condit. I flipped this line. I'd say Condit should be 60% here. I get that the perception is that he's an old rickety vet and that it's easy to take him down. But when you go over the career of Max Payne Griffin, I mean, this is a dude who's going life and death with Amedovski. He's 5-6 in the UFC. He just beat Kenan Song. Not very impressive. Even his fight versus Brahimaj, I didn't think he was doing too well in that fight until he low blowed him a couple times and then, chopped his ear off, which is, fair play to him for doing that. But if this fight's contested on the feet, I think Condit has the advantage. I think he's his depth of striking is much, much better. Of course, anybody can get caught. Anything can happen. And if you want to talk about takedowns, not only can you not trust Max to go for these takedowns, this is a dude who lost to Curtis Millender. And if anybody is a potent takedown artist, they should be able to get past Curtis Millender. But even if he is going for takedowns, I think Condit's a much better grappler. Not only displayed in the octagon, but by the fact that he just competed in submission underground. So I really think people are writing Condit off too early here. And this is not the level of opponent who can beat him. Even when you go back and you highlight who's beaten him recently, Michael Chiesa. He was threatening Chiesa with a deep armbar in that first round, also got himself out of bad positions. So, yeah, Condit can be taken down, but he's displayed that he can get out of these bad positions, sweep guys, threaten them. Same with Oliveira, got out of a lot of bad positions, was turning the tides in that fight before he ate that up kick, got club and subbed there. So people remember that Oliveira took him down and he ultimately got submitted, but it wasn't like he was dominated on the mat. Neil Magny, cardio machine.
Fair play, Z. Fair play. Continue. I'm with you.
Neil Magny, cardio machine, which Max Payne Griffin is not. He often gets tired in his fights. He moves about the octagon really well, but he's not very efficient with that movement. And he does slow down and tire in these fights. And he gets rocked all the time. Like, yeah, you can say he's durable, he weathers the storm, but I mean, he really is going life and death with Mike Perry, Zelim Imadaev, Elizeu Zaleski, and like Zaleski's legit, fair play, and he rocks Zaleski too. But I flipped this line, man. I think Condit should be minus 150. Max Payne should be a slight underdog, like come back like plus 130. So yeah, I got 200 on Condit at plus 164. I think people are writing him off way too early and just banking on D1 Max Griffin to show up. And I don't think that's going to be the case. Again, even if it is the case, I wouldn't put it past Carlos Condit to submit him. So give me a natural born killer, 3 in a row. Let's go.
Woo! I llove it. Firing on all cylinders, Z. Notorious, how are you feeling about this one, my man?
Oh, also, I just want to highlight people were counting on Court McGee to wrestle, but it's just like the Wonder Boy fight that's coming up. It's like you can't just shoot from the outside. And when you get a mobile striker who's often switching stance and who also plastered Court McGee's nose to the other side of his face in that fight, it's not so easy as just going for takedowns and getting them. You've got to get in on this guy. And I think that's a dangerous game to play.
Fair play to you, my friend. Notorious, have at it.
You're muted.
Oh yeah, you're muted, buddy.
Sorry.
Not a problem.
Actually, I do like a lot of things that Z is saying here. I think part of me thinks that Max Griffin is just gonna want to stand and bang here. I think he's gonna fall in. I think he fell in love with his striking recently, and I mean I don't blame him. He's got a highlight reel finish, right, on the last one, but the competition level there compared to here is just not even comparable. And Carlos Condit does have really good chin. So good luck knocking Carlos Condit out. So what I'm expecting here is actually Max Griffin not fighting smart. I think he's going to want to go toe-to-toe. He's not going to implement Michael Chiesa type of game plan or, Neil Magny or, anything like that. So in that scenario, I think plus 170 on Carlos Condit is a very good value. Also, one nugget of information that I've noticed throughout the years is the featured prelim is a very good spot for underdogs to cash. I've noticed it over and over and over again. The last two pay-per-views that cashed as well. It was Drew Dober versus Brett Riddell. He was a dog there, and I forgot.
I cashed that Riddell play as well, good sir.
Yeah, I had Riddell there as well. It was sweaty as fuck, but at the end of the day, he did cash. But yeah, I mean, it's a spot that cashes a lot of the times. I think Max Griffin is the type of guy that you want to bet as a dog. You don't want to bet him as a favorite. Definitely not as a minus 200. That's absurd. So yeah, I mean, you could say that, oh yeah, he's having a career resurgence and whatnot. I mean, look at who he beat, and I mean, I think Carlos Condit beats both of them too. So I do like Carlos Condit here. I might get involved. I want to see the weigh-ins. I think that the line is probably gonna hover around this number, so I don't have to necessarily get involved right now. But yeah, I'm gonna pick Carlos Condit. I'm not sure if he's gonna get a finish, but I do pick him to win. I just don't trust Max Griffin whatsoever.
I hear that. That's a fair take.
Yeah, what would you have?
I just wanted to mention too that like people were frustrated with the fact that Griffin didn't get the Thiago Alves decision. But if you go back and you look at why he didn't, same with the Oliveira one, I believe. If you look at why he lost those decisions, it's because he doesn't do anything on top. So yeah, he might get on top, but Condit's actually a guy who won the first round against Matt Brown when Matt Brown was on top of him in his last fight. So he's a dude who can stay active off the bottom and actually convince the judges to score it for him, even if he is getting on top. So I really don't think that the wrestling path is there to the degree that people are saying it is, or that this line would suggest, right? I think the real worry is that cannon of a right hand that Max Griffin has, but he would be the first guy to stop Carlos Condit with a legitimate, strike. Obviously, he got TKO'd by Tyron Woodley. It was a knee injury, and he did get rocked in the Oliveira fight, but great chin, certainly not somebody who's easily finished, So, yeah, I think in hindsight, this is going to be one of those fights where it's just like, why was Condit the dog? Or when they're walking to the cage, Joe's going to be like, wait, why is Condit the plus 170 dog here? Like, people forgot.
Yeah. I mean, I think I also like to fade the highlight reel finishes in general. And I think that's exactly what happened with Max Griffin last time. And I think, yeah, I'm with you, Z. I think that Condit is going to look a lot closer and might look like a favorite. So, yeah.
And also, like, this is the gambling game, right? So, I'm not saying that it's impossible for Max to win. I'm just saying that Condit should be more like 60%. You know what I mean? I'm still giving Max, if they fight 100 times, he probably gets them out of there, or he probably gets the win, 40, 45 times out of 100. But if that's the case, this is a great bet at plus 164 or 170 where it is now. So that's where, as gamblers, we can kind of make the argument without actually saying, oh, this guy's guaranteed to win, right? We're just talking about the line compared to the percentage that we think the fight's going to play out, right? So, yeah, I really think Condit's one of the best bets on the card, and I can't wait to find out if I'm right or not.
I think I'm going to get involved. Fuck it. You know, honestly, I mean,
yeah, I might have just got talked into it as well. I gotta be honest.
I mean, honestly, even before the podcast, I was already, like I said, that.
Nah, Notorious. If he wins, you got to buy an odds mug. That's your.
I'm cool with that. I love the mug. I mean, I'm, like I said, yeah, I'll support my homie. So yeah, I'm down.
I'm just playing.
No, I mean, I like the mug for sure. All right, what do we got next?
Do I go a full unit?
Depends what your unit is. Mine is only 100, so I throw 100. It's like nothing.
So. There you go, man. All right, we'll kick it off on the pay-per-view main card. I'll make these decisions off air. All right, back at it. Sean O'Malley, Kris Moutinho. A little disappointing. Not the crescendo where we keep building. We kind of blip back down. This is a little bit less exciting of a fight, but should be an exciting finish. That's what I think everybody's expecting. I'll kick it over to you first, Z. You looked like you had a little twitch of excitement there for a second.
I mean, I'm trying to pick up some easy money here. I put 150 on O'Malley to win inside the distance. It's chalked up minus 325. Like, I know that's not for everybody, but when I looked at the tape, I don't see anything that Kris brings to the table here, with all due respect. I mean, he's a little bit older, a little bit less experienced, a little bit smaller, a lot slower, he's been rocked bad in 3 of his last 4 versus much lesser competition. And I am by no means a Sean O'Malley fanboy. I don't think he's in title contention. I think Peter Yan would butcher him, but I think this is T-ball. Like, I think he's just going to be able to snipe this guy easy. And props to Kris for getting his foot in the door and stepping up to the plate here. But I really just don't see what he brings to the table. Like, he's slower. He's pretty basic striking. And Sean, you got to give Sean some credit, right? He does some things really well. He feints before he goes. He strikes on the off beat or on multiple beats. He sets stuff up. He varies his attack. And he is a sniper. So I think he's going to be rocking Kris multiple times here and eventually get a finish. Kris is pretty tough. Like I said, he's been rocked in 3 of his last 4. He doesn't always go out right away, but I think Sean will eventually get a knockout or a TKO win here at a very high clip.
I tend to agree with you. Pretty.
I mean, it's nothing crazy. He's a minus 1,000, right? Like,
absolutely, yeah. We're not rocket scientists here. Notorious. How about you, man?
Yeah, I think that pretty much Z's got it on this one. I think to beat Sean O'Malley, like, you kind of have to have similar qualities as to how you beat Conor McGregor. And that is, you have to be durable. You have to be able to take him into deep waters. And I don't see how this Kris Moutinho guy is going to do either of those 2 things. So I think Suga Sean is a very tricky striker. I don't think that's a hot take at all. And yeah, like I said, I think once he gets matchups like, Mirab or Ricky Simon or one of those guys, then yeah, sure, that's a good spot to bet against him. But, I think this should be a pretty easy highlight reel type of knockout. It's going to be a first fight in the pay-per-view. They like to start it off with a bang, and I think that's what they're going to get. So, yeah, I like what Z is betting here. And, it doesn't matter if it's, minus 300, whatever the line is. I mean, I think it's going to cash probably like 85, 90% of the time.
Exactly.
So
that's where I put it, 85.
So, yeah, I think unless he gets a stroke or breaks his ankle, I think he's going to get this guy out of there probably in the first round, but maybe in the second. So, that's my take.
Even the cardio, like it's not even like you said, like it's not even like Kris can drag him into deep waters because I've seen him get really tired in there. And, and not to mention, like, short notice, stepping up a huge level. And again, with all due respect, I just don't think he brings anything to the table here.
Nope. He should fight Jerome Rivera. That would be about the level he is.
Who's that?
I said he should fight Jerome Rivera.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
I like the O'Malley KO at minus 275. But I have not yet gotten involved. I feel like that would be my play on this fight. I feel like O'Malley's going to be targeting that knockout. So that is probably how I will target it if I get involved. But we can move right along because that is a non-competitive fight. I think we have a highly competitive fight in the next bout. Women's bantamweight, 135 pounds. We've got Yana Kunitskaya, Thiago Santos, heir to the fortune, and Irene Aldana. This is a really captivating fight, in my opinion. Notorious, I'll kick it over to you first. What do you got, man?
Yeah, so actually earlier during the week, I had one unit on Irene Aldana, and I do have a bias towards her. I think ever since I saw her war with Lucy Pudilova, I mean, I've been a huge fan. But then, I decided to cash it out, and the reason being is as much as I love Irene Aldana's movement, for how much she moves and for how crisp her hands are, like, she's pretty hittable still, man. Like, I would hope that her defense so she's very hittable. And, that's a concern to me. I still think that she has the edge. And if it gets into like a slugfest kind of deal, I do think she has a better heart. I think she is a girl that will, push through adversity more than Yana would. But like at the same time, like Yana is very strong in the clinch. So I could see Irene losing minutes in that situation. So I think the line, I think it's lined pretty well, honestly. And I mean, I could get involved later. Like, I don't think that either woman is going to get a knockout in the first or, finish in the first round. So, I mean, if I like what I see live, I could get involved. So, but yeah, I mean, Yana, I think she has advantages in certain areas. I think she's stronger. But at the same time, I don't think Yana likes to get hit, and getting dropped by a left hook of, what's her name? Aspenlet. I love Aspenlet, but she's not a good striker. Her game is getting on top of you and smashing you and making those animal noises. And then the ref stops it. But like, I just don't think that, Yana likes to get hit. But at the same time, can she get takedowns and win minutes that way? I think she possibly could. And also she could touch up Irene Aldana too. So I decided to cash it out for that reason. I mean, maybe I'll regret it, maybe not. But I'm okay with it. I think the line will stay, about what it is right now. Maybe some money will come in on Yana again. So I can get involved again. But for now, it's a pass. But I'll pick Irene Aldana with my bias that I have.
No problem. And Z, how are you feeling about this, man? I'll kick it right over to you.
Sure, thanks, man. Notorious, did you take a loss on cashing that out, or did you get your money back?
No, I got it back because I got minus 115 and then it got to like minus 120. So Bovada gave me my 100 back.
Okay. I think, man, I'm kind of waiting for Irene to touch plus money and then I'll get involved because I think she makes big improvements, especially at that Lobo gym. Like, I think they got good training down there. They all seem to be, improving. It is kind of a messy fight, in my opinion, though. But I think Irene is a better striker than Yana, and if it's contested on the feet, I think she's gonna win a pretty comfortable decision, if not finish Yana. And then I don't really think Yana can like dominate her in the clinch or on the mat. Like I just don't think that's the case. But it might be, right? Like that's why it's
back into it, Z.
What's that?
I said, don't talk me back into the bet.
Well, if it cashes, you're gonna wish I did, man. Like I think Irene is I lean with her for sure. I mean, but I don't really have too much.
She was about the same price as against Holly Holm as she is now. I mean, it's very close. And I mean, hindsight, it was probably a terrible line. She should have not been, that line. But at the same time, if you remember, I don't know if you guys remember, but she did break her foot. Because she posted a picture of an X-ray after the fight, so I could see why she had a bad performance there. And Holly Holm is a different level too. So
entirely different. And again, like recency bias factors into these lines so much. So if we can be on the other side of that, it's usually a good look. But yeah, I mean, I'm just not that impressed with anything Yana does. I mean, that last fight, she squeaked by with she barely won versus Ketlin, barely. And obviously Ketlin's better on the ground than Irene, but Irene murked Ketlin. You know what I mean?
Right. What I would say to that is, it was the optics. I mean, she landed that elbow and just the gash that she got.
Right at the end.
Right. I think she should have lost the fight, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is what it is, I guess.
I think
I will just point everybody's attention to the statistics from that fight. And statistics aren't everything, but I will point to the statistics that say Yana Kunitskaya landed 215 strikes to 35 strikes from Ketlin Vieira. Yana Kunitskaya landed 47 significant strikes to 7 from Ketlin Vieira. So we're talking about who was trying to attack somebody in a fight and do damage. Then we were looking at a Yana Kunitskaya win. Now, granted, Ketlin was attacking from grappling situations. I'm a grappler, right? I love that. I want to see people win with awesome submissions. I'm all for it. But I also understand that when we're doing MMA, we need to be attacking constantly, landing strikes, letting the judges know I'm not just here to grapple. I don't just want the submission, because that's my win condition. Then it's like, do I submit him or not? Do I get him in a really tight position where the judges are sure to give it to me or not? And I think that more often than not, that's a bad course of action as a means of winning fights throughout. Now, I also think that Yana Kunitskaya, what she does well is she suppresses volume from her opponents. You know, that wasn't the first time that she was outlanding somebody significantly. Julija Stoliarenko landed 6 significant strikes. That's what she was credited with. Granted, the Aspen Ladd fight, she loses, right? And if you guys remember that finish, Aspen Ladd sprints across the octagon in a fight that she's probably losing, very competitive back and forth fight. She sprints across, throws one big haymaker, and drops her. Now, that seems like a non-replicable outcome. Like, I mean, she could do that again, but I don't know that she does that again at a high clip. Like, it was, she got caught sleeping at the beginning of the 3rd round. Didn't expect Aspen Ladd to just run across recklessly with an open stance, like lead hook, and just got caught. And then Aspen Ladd, like you said, where is she talented? She's talented when she's on top of somebody and dropping hammers. And she got a free opportunity to get on top and drop hammers. So I think that Yana Kunitskaya, I think she's done a lot better at American Top Team. I think that her process looks better. I think that in this matchup, you know, I originally leaned Irene Aldana. I had bet on her in the home fight, which I regret now. But I can look and say I shouldn't have bet her in the home fight, because she's shown an ability, even though she has pretty decent takedown defense, she's not getting taken down that much. She's getting controlled for significant portions of her fights. And that, be that against the cage, be that in transitions when somebody's trying to take her down. I think she wants to use the cage to prevent takedowns. And I think against Yana, that means she's going to get smushed for portions of this fight. Anytime Yana attempts a takedown, if she puts her back against the cage, then Yana's probably going to press her there and land significant strikes from the clinch, because that's what Yana does. You know, she doesn't land as many significant strikes because she clinches her whole fight against the cage, and it's a little boring, but she's willing to do it consistently. I think that that's a path, and especially when you're getting plus money in a women's fight where, you know, Irene Aldana has that one, you know, shocking knockout victory over Ketlin Vieira, but otherwise, I don't know that she's shown a tremendous ability to put somebody away. And so if we're looking at a fight that's probably going to go to decision, and we've got somebody with a control grappling path who's probably going to suppress volume from the other side, and we got one girl in Yana Kunitskaya who has a positive striking differential by a full digit. And then we've got Irene Aldana who's got negative striking differentials. And I believe that's true even if you take out the home fight. So it's just... to me, Irene Aldana, in order to get her game going, is too willing to be hit. And that's why I think Yana Kunitskaya would be my personal side in this fight. I have a wager on Yana by decision, 0.67 units at plus 150. I think that is a pretty decent way to target Yana here. I think that covers a lot of her win equity. But I think Yana at plus money is a decent enough look. I would cap her about minus 125 in this spot. You know, I think Irene Aldana is still a very talented fighter, has a lot of upside. If this is contested at striking range the whole time, probably going to be a losing effort from Yana Kunitskaya. And I do think that the more likely finisher is Aldana. But I think that if this fight goes to the cards, which I think it does at a very high clip, I think that it's a greaser. And I also think that Yana Kunitskaya has shown she can grease out these decisions. She can suppress volume and win fights that are a little boring, where she controls the clinch, manages the fight, and slows it down. I think she's capable of doing that again against Irene Aldana.
Fair enough.
I think you guys are doubting yourselves. You both picked Irene.
Wait. She's still my pick. I'm not picking Yana. I'm saying that I think she has more heart, and I think she's going to be able to pull it out. I just cashed out my bet. I mean, it doesn't mean, there was a little doubt, but I might get involved again. Like my man Z, I bet a lot of fights during walkouts in life.
That is true. I know you do that. I'll just draw your attention too. If you're talking about the grappling path, two things of note. This is the larger cage, so that fence is further away. It's going to be tougher to corral Irene, who has great lateral movement. Also, she has an 84% takedown defense despite giving up 5 takedowns in her last fight. So it's not like she's really easily taken down.
I think that broken foot was really why that happened.
I mean, yeah, she didn't. I heard an interview with her. She didn't want to make excuses, but I mean, she admitted, like, yeah, it was broken. That's why it took 3 months off to recover. Like,
yeah, I mean, you're a grappler, Liam. Like, if I took you down, you have a broken foot. Like, grimping out is going to be a lot harder. Like getting back to the feet or even defending takedowns and she used a lot of footwork, movement, and yeah, broken foot does play a factor there. For sure.
And when you're talking about the striking differential from Yana, a lot of that comes from the Ketlin Vieira fight where she was landing ground and pound and Julia Stoliarenko. Like, I don't think she's not going to be out striking Irene if Irene can keep this at range, in my opinion.
I agree. I just don't think she's going to be able to keep it at range. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think that Yana has a pretty decent ability to force clinch situations. I like the way that her process works. She'll fade backwards a little bit, get somebody throwing, wrap up a clinch, and then move towards the cage, which that seems to me a more replicable way of getting somebody on the cage than trying to back them up with striking pressure and then like run head first. With like double underhook sneaking, it's like you could do that. That's what some people try, but I actually think Yana's a little more clever. And I do think that she has, she's shorter, right? She's like smaller. She's stronger though, in my opinion, or at least at strength parity. I think that if she gets the clinch situation, she's going to be able to back her onto the cage. And I do think that that's what Irene prefers when she's trying to defend a takedown. What was that?
Can we agree on one thing? If someone in this fight is plus 200 or more live, that's the side to bet? Because I think it's going to be a close decision, personally.
I agree. That's what I mean. I went small and went with the decision prop because I feel like it covers enough of the win equity. And I do think that, Yana at plus 150, I think that would be a bet for sure.
That's fair.
I will say this. We've spent more time discussing it than I spent researching it. So who knows?
On to the next, boys. This is a sloppy one. Got to be honest. Again, I would put some of those fights from earlier on the card in these spots if I was given the matchmaker's pen. But we've got Tayuvasa. We've got Greg Hardy. Heavyweight slop fest. Notorious, kick us off. What do you got, man?
That's another fight where I cashed out my bet. I had a bet on Greg Hardy at plus 115. And then I did more analysis on it. And I'm like, it seems like his success is so front-loaded that, man, it's just I can't trust his cardio, man, like at all. Like I can't. And I know he looked amazing in the first round against Marcin Tybura. And yeah, I mean, but at the same time, man, like as soon as the second round started, even before he got taken down, it looked bad right away. It looked bad. And, and that's not the first time. There's been multiple fights where he gassed. And that's probably his biggest weakness next to the ground game, right? But I don't think the ground game is really going to come into a factor here. I don't think Bam Bam is going to really go for takedowns. I mean, he was at AKA before, but now this camp, he was in Australia. So over there, they don't go for takedowns unless you're Volkanovski. But yeah, so I'm expecting a fight on the feet. And another fact that kind of made me hesitant is Bam Bam's leg kicks. Mm-hmm. His leg kicks are no joke. I think Greg Hardy, footwork and movement are going to get, impacted by that. And if it gets to the late second round, who the guy who has more heart, I think, is Bam Bam. He's gonna come. He's gonna walk through fire unless he gets deaded early, which could happen because I've seen him get dropped by Blagoy Ivanov when he was closing the distance sloppily. And Blagoy, he doesn't KO guys, so that's a concern. But if it stays on the outside, sort of between kicking and boxing range, and Tai is not pressing the action like an idiot, I think that he can wear down Greg Hardy, and he probably pulls away late. So yeah, I had to cash out my bet, and I'm okay with it, honestly. Plus 115 is not enough for me to love it. I mean, I'd rather play Jessica Eye plus 160 like I did, or Carlos Condit at plus 170, because I see multiple different ways where they can win late. They can win that third round. I don't think Greg Hardy can win the third round. Not in this fight. He's done it before against Yorgan De Castro, but Yorgan De Castro has shit cardio, and he just allowed Greg Hardy to dictate the pace and everything.
He shut down after he broke his foot on a checked kick. He shut down.
All right, that's a great point right there. Yeah. So, and I think Bam Bam just has too much heart to allow Greg Hardy to just stay at range for the whole time. And yeah, I'm gonna pick Tai here. But if on Sunday morning you wake up and you see a first round finish, it wouldn't be surprised for me if it was Greg Hardy. So I can see him winning, but it's just in the first 7 minutes or so. Yeah.
That makes sense to me. What do you think, Z?
I agree with Notorious when he said the leg kicks will be a big factor. I think it's going to be a huge factor, especially not only with how hard he fights, and he does eat kicks. Like, that's why Yorgan was going after those kicks. He checked one, the foot landed on the knee, and that was the tail of that fight. But also because he's talking about going to boxing, and when that happens, usually it's because guys are working their hands a lot in the gym. And Tai's biggest weapon is that outside low kick, especially in this fight. Then I also think, I don't think Tai has great cardio, but I think he's much better at fighting when he does get tired. Yep. Like we saw Greg Hardy completely shut down, right? So what I'm kind of targeting here is this is a heavyweight fight that doesn't go the distance, opened at minus 400. So the odds maker was thinking this is going to finish, and now it's at minus 170. So that's where I'm like, I haven't pulled the trigger yet, but I think, like you said, it's either Hardy early down the pipe, catches Tai. Probably not too likely, not likely enough for me to want to take Hardy as a dog here. But if not, I don't think he's going to survive the chop. I think he gets chopped down by Tai. And especially because, like, when your cardio is not great, if you're getting chopped down, like we've seen Poirier go through it where his leg gets butchered, but he can fight hard. He's got that dog in him. I'm not so sure Hardy's the best nail in the game. We've seen him break his hand, and he's a big, tough guy, right? But I'm telling you, if Tai has been landing leg kicks on him and pushing forward when it gets gritty, I think Tai can get him out of there in the second or third round. So I like Tai for the side. I don't know about the line. This might be another great live betting opportunity, but I think doesn't go the distance at minus 170. I think it's pretty good because, I think it's Greg early or Tai late.
Do you want to be more risky, Z?
And go Tai inside?
No. Fight won't start round 3 is plus 100.
You know what? I used to go with the under 2.5 a lot, but there's something about cashing the last second finishes that is so sweet. Like when you're ripping the ticket up, the
Graham Dawson versus
I cashed it, buddy. I cashed that.
Yeah. I think I had under 2.5 on that one. That one hurt.
Especially when there's a cardio factor, because I want to give Tai the full 15 minutes to chop this tree down. So that's what I'm looking at. And especially when you consider the difference between the opener and where it's at now, people are just, people have steamed this up one way. So
I one more thing that I'll add is the over under 1.5 open at Pick'em, and everyone steamed the over, and the under is plus 160 now, and it was at Pick'em. So that's a huge line shift as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if the under hit as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's like about 10% difference, right? Whereas the doesn't go from minus 400 to minus like 170. That's almost 20% difference, from what the bookie set it at and what the public has moved it to. So,
Yeah, I see a finish here too. I agree.
Well, boys, I got to be honest with you. There's a 4% hold on this fight. It's a heavyweight fight.
Does that, Liam, let me cut you off for a second. Does that matter if you're using different books, though? Because if you're using different books, you like sometimes you can even hedge and get a negative hold if you're sneaky.
I have only like 2 or 3 active books, and a lot of times they're not market makers, if you know what I mean. They're reactive books. They like to drop. I mean, now BetOnline.ag is a market maker, but most of the other ones aren't. So I don't really have that kind of access. Granted, I go back and forth between a couple of jurisdictions where it's not legal to bet on.
You didn't say that.
Mobile.
You're joking. This is all just a fugazi. This whole podcast is just for entertainment purposes.
No, sir. But I'm recording from an illegal state. You understand? Now,
they're coming now.
Exactly. The FBI is at my house right now. There's about to be stormtroopers breaking down my doors and telling me where to go, and people in frog suits being marched around on the news.
Hey, we'll finish up the podcast without you. It's okay.
Sounds like a plan. But I got to be honest. I think that in this fight, Greg Hardy, for me, is the value side. I'm not involved. I'm not going to get involved, I don't think. But the reason that I like the Hardy side here, I do think that the concerns about his cardio are just a tiny measure overwrought. Anybody who is really inexperienced on the ground can be made look like their cardio is compromised when what's really happening is they're panicking. And I saw Greg Hardy panic when he was underneath Marcin Tybura really badly. And he's an asthmatic, having a panic attack in the octagon. Yeah. So I'm going to say, obviously, his cardio is not perfect, but we have seen it hold together before for a 15-minute affair with Volkov, which is a medium-paced fight. So I feel like Greg Hardy is capable in a stand-up affair of producing, 15 minutes worth of volume. Does that mean he necessarily is going to beat Ty? No, it doesn't necessarily mean that, but I also think he's the superior athlete. He's probably faster, probably significantly bigger. And you've got like a beefed up American rich guy, just straight up, against a guy who's just like a fighter from Australia. It's like, I do think that there might be a little bit to the idea that Tai Tuivasa, what has he proven? He beats Harry Hunsucker. Now the Arlovsky win is the credibility to his name, sure. But Harry Hunsucker last time out, it's like, that's not even a UFC level win. So I don't know exactly what we derive from that. Greg Hardy's been fighting serious guys. Marcin Tybura is like a fight away from a title shot, like 2 fights away from a title shot at heavyweight. So yes, did he look embarrassingly bad on the ground? Yes. Is Tai Tuivasa going to take him there? No. So now I see your concern about the calf kicks. Like that is like Ty's best path to victory. It's probably his number one tool that he's going to use in this fight. But I also see, again, we got an athletic guy with size advantages who's been showing improvements on the feet every time out. And he's making the mistakes you would expect a guy who's relatively inexperienced but talented to make, like not knowing exactly what to do on the ground and panicking and spending too much energy in the first round, like beating the shit out of Marcin Tybura. Probably should have slowed it down a little bit and paced himself. So right. I think Greg Hardy's in the right place to get better as well. I mean, granted, he's a little older, but he's a coachable guy. He's an NFL quality athlete. I don't know. I think there's some upside to it. Maybe I'm crazy. Back to you.
I mean, I don't think you're crazy. What I think is that athleticism severely goes down after the first 5 minutes. That's the thing. And the other thing, it's not just him being on the ground. I mean, against Ben Sassoli, there's no ground. He was inhaling between second and third. He was dead, man.
I do think he's been getting better. I think he's been progressively getting a bit better in his cardio.
His technique is getting better. But at the end of the day, the guy was a defensive end, right? And if you watch football, the plays they make is 7-8 seconds, and then they get a rest. So you then don't have to go for 5 minutes. You know what I mean? So I don't think you'll ever have a good cardio, to be honest. And the problem here is that Bam Bam, he is going to bite down on the mouthpiece and keep coming forward. That's the issue. You know, and the heart of Greg Hardy is questionable too. You know, we'll see what happens. But if he deads him in the first round, I mean, I could definitely see it. But after that I think it's going to be a good live betting opportunity if it gets out of the first. That's
all I'll say is you owe me a beer if Greg Hardy outpoints him for a 15-minute decision. Three straight rounds.
Condit wins, and I'll buy you beer if Greg Hardy. That's fine.
Cheers to that, brother. All right. Moving right along, they blessed us, guys. They gave us a very compelling co-main event. This is one that I feel like I want to see the weigh-in for, especially for these two guys. I feel like Wonder Boy, I'm always afraid that he's going to get old overnight, but I still went very heavy, 4 units last time out against Jeff Neal. And thank you, sir. And by the way, I sat back going, thank you, because I felt very confident the whole way through. I liked Wonder Boy's performance there, but I think that we've got a different threat now in Gilbert Burns. Not to say that Gilbert offers all the same, attributes that made Jeff Neal a tough challenge, like his durability, like his willingness to come forward. But we've got in Gilbert Burns a guy who actually has some pretty serious power in his own right. We've seen him hurt and stagger even the likes of Kamaru Usman. And then we've also seen that Gilbert, he has a very high-level ground game. He was competitive with Damian Maia in grappling exchanges in ways that I found a little surprising. And I think that, Gilbert, he's a tricky guy. He's a pissed-off guy on a mission right now, I would think. He seems like a real spirited competitor, but then you've got Wonder Boy, the ultimate tactician, the ultimate technician, very hard to get a hold of, very hard to get close to, tricky game, hard to read, a lot of side kicks. I think that if he gets taken down by Gilbert, that's the real concern for Wonder Boy in this spot. I do think that Gilbert's control is world class. I think that people might not understand the difference between like somebody who's really good at something, somebody who works on it a lot, somebody who's good at it in MMA, and then somebody who's world class. And I think that could be a problem for Wonder Boy. So Wonder Boy has to be perfect for 15 minutes. I do think that that's a cause for concern when you're talking about betting a favorite. That I think Wonder Boy has to mind his P's and Q's on both levels, right? We've seen that guys who aren't necessarily the world's greatest power threat, Anthony Pettis comes to mind, drop Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. That's an outlier, right? That's a bit of a flukish performance given the whole body of work, but Wonderboy's also 38 in this spot. He's also been knocked out in that spot before. He's been hurt and rocked by Tyron Woodley before. So we've seen him hurt and rocked before, and Gilbert's got power, right? I think either guy could go down in this fight. I think that we've got power on both ends. I think Wonder Boy, for all his skills, still gets hit in exchanges because he's willing to come forward and throw. And like he takes advantage. When he sees an opening, he throws, but that means he can be susceptible to get hit by the counter. I think Gilbert Burns has a money left hook. It's very fast. He hits very hard with it. It's a clean strike. I think that his calf kicks could play a role here. I think that, people talk about the Anthony Pettis knockout as though it just happened out of thin air. And I don't think that that's the right read. I think that Anthony Pettis had done attritional damage with leg kicks that was a little underrated. And Wonder Boy, who is very spry, who's very mobile, who moves in and out of range quickly, was slowed down and was more limited in his toolbox by that point in the fight. And so when you have Wonder Boy standing in front of you in punching exchanges, now maybe it's a more competitive fight. But that being said, I think that the durability questions on the Gilbert Burns side are probably a little more pronounced. We've seen him dropped with a jab. We've seen him hurt and rocked in a bunch of fights, even fights that he won. We've seen his cardio start to slide and fade later in fights in ways that Wonder Boy has shown an ability to go 5 rounds, no problem. Or 5 rounds with a little bit of issue against Jeff Neal. So I think that we've got a very compelling fight here. I'm going to kick it over to you guys, saying that this is a freaking hell of a fight. It's a well-matched co-main event. I believe I want to double check this, but I was hearing that Gilbert Burns opened as a slight favorite and was quickly bet to the dog. If that's true, that would be a little interesting to me. But what do you guys think about this? I'll kick it over to you first, see?
I took Wonder Boy. I think he's pretty solid here and going to make it look. I think the fight plays out as if he looks like a much bigger favorite. I think the big worry is Gilbert catching him with one of those like leaping hooks, or like just as Wonder Boy tries to exit on the side. But for all the things you said about what'd you say about Wonder Boy? Like Wonder Boy hasn't fought a grappler, and Gilbert's a world-class grappler here, but Gilbert hasn't fought a striker in a long time. Like he hasn't fought an adept striker, especially a long range one like Wonder Boy, especially in the larger cage. So I don't know. I just think
point
Wonder
about
Boy's,
the cage size. Yeah.
I think Wonder Boy's a really tough matchup for him because of his ability to stay so evasive. Like once again, it's going to be people wondering why Burns didn't go for takedowns, but it's because Wonder Boy makes it hard to even get to him. You know what I mean? So I think Wonder Boy pieces him up from the outside. He can snipe down the pipe and finish him. Burns has been finished. He was finished by Hooker down the pipe. He obviously just got finished in his last fight, which was a war back and forth. But again, Kamaru's not that type of striker. Kamaru's a force of nature and like a very, very powerful fighter, very
athlete.
Insane, and like his mentality is incredible for the sport, right? But he's just not this type of evasive, mobile guy who's going to be on his bike, who's going to be kicking, switching stance, giving you tons of different looks. And his takedown defense is really good, is Wonder Boy's. So yeah, I think it's just a really bad matchup. Fair play. If Gilbert is able to get the fight to the ground, of course he holds an advantage there over just about everyone in the division. And he also has a legitimate puncher's chance. I'm not taking that away from him at all. Like he has heavy hands for sure. But in my opinion, this is Wonder Boy coasting to either a unanimous decision win or picking up a knockout along the way.
All right.
Notorious.
Yeah.
Have at it, sir.
Yeah. Actually, I am on Wonder Boy's side here as well. He actually completes my 3-leg parlay that I forgot to mention to you guys. I have Yaozong, Jessica I, and Stephen Thompson as my 0.5 units parlay to win.
That's such a weird parlay. That's such a weird parlay. 2 dogs and Wonder Boy.
That's all right. If you look at my ROI for parlays, I think it's very, very good.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm not questioning your long-term
mine
results.
is very, very bad. Parlays and me don't get along so good, brother.
Yeah, and it's only 0.5 units to win almost 4 units. I think that yeah, I like it. But I also have what?
You have those dogs straight though as well, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I have them straight, and I also have under 2.5 on this fight at plus 130. When it opened on Bet Online, I bet it immediately. That was my read pretty much before I even started the tape, and it only got stronger afterwards. I think that, Gilbert Burns does not have the right style to beat Wonder Boy. I think if you look at Wonder Boy's losses, he loses to the guys who are good counter strikers, which is Darren Till is a good counter striker. And that was a very, greasy decision, whatever. But still, he lost that one, okay? Then he lost to Tyron Woodley, who is also a counter striker with a huge bomb. And he lost to Anthony Pettis, who is not a counter striker, but Anthony Pettis has that unpredictability about him. He can throw, that was a Superman punch, right? When's the last time you saw Gilbert Burns throw anything unpredictable? I think he's pretty much meat and potatoes kind of striker. He throws hard hooks, hard leg kicks, hard straights or overhands. And I think Wonder Boy is going to read that pretty easily. He has 4-inch reach advantage as well. Honestly, to me, Gilbert Burns is a worse version of Vicente Luque as a striker.
Mm-hmm.
And Vicente Luque got pieced the fuck up. And Vicente Luque has a lot better durability. And he got dropped. I mean, he almost got finished. So I think Gilbert Burns, he got Raymond Daniels in his camp for this fight. I mean, maybe Raymond Daniels is telling him to be a patient counter striker, but that's not Gilbert Burns' game. His whole game is about being aggressive. So he overwhelms you. And if that's what he does here, he's going to get cracked and probably get put down, And on the other hand, the only way I see Gilbert Burns winning is by finish. So I like the under 2.5 for those reasons. And one more piece of information that I want to share. I think that Gilbert Burns, to me, the way, I'm looking at the countdown, I'm looking at him talk, he's still not over that loss to Kamaru. I think that was a big emotional loss for him. I think his mentality is not there. His confidence is not there. And if you're coming in questioning yourself against a guy like Wonderboy, I think that's bad news. So my prediction is going to be Wonderboy by KO. And, it might happen in the first, might happen in the second, who knows? But that's my prediction.
I just want to say too, like coming off a title loss, this is a bit of an aside, but I don't know why these guys, and Burns might go out there and win, but I don't know why these guys coming off a title fight loss want to jump back in there with a guy who's like streaking into the top 5 again. You know what I mean? Like if I was Burns' manager, and I don't know if I mentioned this with Tavares, but Tavares' management throughout his career, I think has been spot on. But if I'm managing Gilbert Burns, I would say we're taking somebody in like the top 20. Like we're not even, you just got finished. You fought for the title. Go way down the rung. Go get some win bonuses, try to get some performance bonuses, rack up 3 or 4 wins, and then you're back after you've evolved a little bit after a few years, right? Like you said, gain that confidence back, work on your craft, pick up more money. But to jump back in there versus a guy who's right at the top level, it's kind of like trying to martingale with your career. It's like I think it's dangerous.
I think you should have taken a guy like Michael Chiesa, Neil Magny. I think that's a good matchup, both of those. Yeah. But here, I mean, that's a terrible matchup. It's a very hard puzzle, even if you're at the height of your confidence. Wonderboy is hard. So yeah, I agree with you 100%.
I hear you guys. Now, the only thing that gives me a little bit of pause is, again, just the fact that we've got a 38-year-old as the person that we're backing as the favorite. And I do have a concern always that the bottom's going to fall out on somebody. Granted, Gilbert's not the freshest fighter either, but I do think that, man, the speed, the athleticism, the reaction, the timing, just certain small elements that can just pass you by with age, and that we've seen it happen to people overnight. We talk about that Vicente Luque fight, but it was 2 years ago, and Wonderboy's 2 years older now. And I do think that that's an important point. I do think somebody is likely to go down. I'm actually seeing that the fight doesn't go the distance plus 100, kind of like that. Probably going to get involved a little bit.
With my bet on Wonderboy, I am worried. I am worried that Burns clips him on the way out. Like Wonderboy does like to fade off to the sides with his hands low, and I could see Burns, kind of clotheslining him with that. And then on the flip side, of course, I do think Wonderboy has an honest chance to finish him. So I don't hate the fight doesn't go at all.
And I think that at plus 265, Wonderboy inside the distance,
yeah, that's
probably value.
I think I saw it even higher too, man.
Oh wow, yeah. I think that's
bet 365. It's plus 333. Yeah, it's the same as Burns too.
I would jump on that probably.
Yeah.
Because Burns on Bet Online is plus 285, and I don't think that there's value on that necessarily, but I do think that Wonderboy plus 265 is probably value. So to make a long story short, I probably favor Wonderboy here, but not enough to make a wager at this point, especially where the line has gone. If there's late action back on Gilbert and we could push that line back to minus 145, minus 150, then I'm probably willing to get involved. But I just think that at minus 160, minus 170, I didn't see it as necessarily a huge value spot for Wonderboy.
I think hindsight, this might look like the easiest money on the card.
I feel you.
I think guys coming off a title loss usually don't perform well in the next one. Who else?
Gastelum, Darren Till.
You know who else is coming off a title loss? Jennifer Maia.
Oh, there you go. Consistency, Notorious. That's what we're looking for. Boys, I barely need to introduce this fight. Everybody's been thinking about it for the last few weeks. We know that. Everybody's been talking about it with their friends around the water cooler. If you're like me, you've been bothering your family members, your loved ones, anybody who will give you the time of day, trying to parse this fight out. I think that it's a really interesting one. It's probably the most captivating fight in combat sports today. It is the biggest crossover fight that combat sports has to offer right now. I saw the Sports Center lead when I clicked over to the ESPN website today was the Conor McGregor fight. So very fun stuff. It's nice when MMA gets to be the center of attention. It's not very common. So this is a big weekend for us boys. This is a huge weekend for the MMA world. And I think a lot is decided about the mixed martial arts legacies of the two fighters in the main event. We've got Conor McGregor on one side, the pride of Ireland, one of my favorite fighters of all time. I got to come full disclosure. My mother is from Ireland. I am an Irishman at heart. I have a rooting interest for Conor McGregor here, but I will also say that I think that I am, at least a somewhat reasonable observer. Last time I looked at the line and I said, I think it's about fair, but I don't think there's value on betting Conor McGregor at minus 300. Now, that being said, should I have probably been looking with a little more intrigue at that plus 250 on Dustin Poirier? Yes, I should have, but I'm a Conor mark. And I wasn't going to. That being said, last time out, I cashed the under 2.5 rounds. I want to say it was 3 units deep at minus 180. Cashed it with 5 minutes of clearance. I was very happy about that. And so I turned around and I bet the profit from that bet today on the under 2.5 rounds. Again, they gave me a shorter price. It's minus 125 this time around. I kind of like that price for the under 2.5 rounds. I think everything that I thought the first time still stands, which is that Conor McGregor is one of the most prolific first-round finishers in UFC history. And when he's on like Donkey Kong. He can put people away fast. I think that Conor McGregor, when he's mobile, when he's kicking, he's a problem for anybody. He makes it very hard to set your feet. He's a great counter striker. He's got good timing. But I think that the problem that he's dealing with, in his recent fights is that he's missed critical development in his career. He's been absent for large portions of his prime, hasn't been as active as he would have needed to be, in my opinion, to make some of the improvements that Dustin Poirier has been making. And I think MMA is a modern game. It changes all the time. If you step away, if you're looking somewhere else, if you get distracted, if your eye's not on the ball, somebody's going to pass you. And, it could be fast, right? Tyron Woodley, great example. Granted, he was a little bit older, but the game just passed him by in an instant. And he was doing other things. He had other careers going on. And then we see the game pass him by. And so that's my concern as a Conor fan, is that Conor's been doing other things and missing critical periods of development in his career. But I also think that a lot of things that were true about the first matchup are true today. I'm rambling on because I'm so fired up. I'm going to kick it over to you first, C. What do you think about this damn fight? It's a hell of a good one.
He was like a minus 250 in the first fight. He was like a minus 300 the next fight, and now he's even money. And I don't know what you guys feel about this, but I thought in that second fight he was looking pretty good until the right hook that led to the finish. Like when Dustin had his back against the cage, hit him with the right hook, and then turned him around and finished him. Up until that point, Conor was landing some big shots, landed that lead right uppercut, looked a lot faster than Dustin. And I don't know. I didn't like, the narrative seems to be that Poirier just dominated him and butchered his leg, and that was it. And he did do damage to the leg, but it wasn't like he was winning all of those minutes, right? So the bet that I have is doesn't go the distance. I put 150 on that, minus 325. Again, just trying to pick up some easy money. The first fight ended in the first round. Second fight ended in the second round. Probably going to end in the third round. No, I'm just fucking. But yeah,
as long as it's in the first 2.5 minutes of the third round.
Right.
We're gravy, brother.
You'll be fine, but you'll be fine. And you did get a much better number. But yeah, as far as betting wise, I think the safest thing is doesn't go the distance. I could be wrong, but it seems to me that Conor's very dangerous and Poirier can be knocked out. And then obviously Conor's explosivity or explosiveness kind of wilts towards the end of the fight. And Poirier is one of these dogs who just lets his hands go, and he doesn't really ever lose his power or his pop in his punches. So I think it's Conor early or Dustin late. But as far as a money line's concerned, I'm more tempted by McGregor. Like I think he's got a good chance to finish Dustin. And you say what you will, but he did have a totally different demeanor about him in that rematch. Like, he came in happy-go-lucky, reminded me of the first Diaz fight where he was kind of just not focused. And, you know, you can say that it doesn't matter because all that really matters is what happens in the cage. But I think he's capable of making adjustments and making this look more like the first fight than the second. So I'm going to lean with Conor, but not with a ton of conviction. It's just, it is really strange to me that when you watch their two fights and you see what the lines were, and now we're getting to pick them, it seems to me that Conor should be more of a favorite. But yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, and I can see the line closing in real time. Conor McGregor was plus 108, I think was as far as it got on betonline.ag. And he's starting to creep back in, plus 103 on the money line now.
I mean, I got a 117 in Pinnacle here.
Heck yeah, man. Damn. There you go. And I think that, you know, to just quickly give a little bit of credence to what Z's talking about, you know, Dustin Poirier absorbed 1,145 head strikes in his UFC and WEC career, right? He's been knocked out by southpaw Michael Johnson. He's been knocked out by southpaw Conor McGregor. Granted, it was at a different weight class. And so I do think that, you know, every time that this fight has been run previously, people thought, you know, Conor has a greater than 55, and that's very conservative, a greater than 55% chance of knocking out Dustin in the first 7 minutes. And now we're saying that it's like the opposite, right? It's like a 45% chance at best. And I don't buy that. I'm with Z that line movement is a little crazy. I think that the public is actually betting Dustin Poirier now at pick'em price. And not to say that that's, you know, outlandish. Like I do think that Dustin has proven himself as a contender, you know, and a distinguished run at lightweight, no doubt about it. But I also think that, you know, people might be sleeping on Conor McGregor's abilities because of his persona. Notorious. I'll kick it back to you, man. With a great name appropriate for this episode, by the way.
Yeah, how can I be unbiased, right?
Absolutely.
But let me try to, right? So first of all, I think the line opened actually at minus 140 Conor on BetOnline, and then it got steamed to plus money. So in terms of what I think was going to happen, I think Conor is the wild card here. I think it's pretty easy. Well, at least what I think. I think it's pretty easy to tell what Dustin Poirier is going to do. I think he doesn't really change from fight to fight that much. With Conor in the last fight, he was as flat-footed as we've ever seen. Mm-hmm. I think that was, you know, he was really focused on the boxing. I mean, there's rumors, and I think they were true, that he was trying to fight Manny Pacquiao right after, and he chose Dustin is because he's a southpaw too. So he was kind of looking past him, and obviously, you know, that was the wrong move. Also, Conor grew his hair back and got the beard back, so that's a good sign right there. But in all seriousness, I think what Conor's doing right now, I think I like what he's doing. You know, he's going back to his old demeanor. I think he was way too friendly. You know, some people might say it doesn't matter, you know, but I think it does matter. I think with a guy like Conor, when he has that energy about him, when he wants to rip your head off, that's the best Conor. I mean, when he made his legendary run in the featherweight division and then beat Eddie Alvarez, that was his demeanor. And now, you know, after he, you know, went to fight Floyd Mayweather, and then with Khabib, you know, all those lawsuits and everything, he kind of changed his approach. But now he's back to old Conor. I think he took this camp very seriously. I saw some rumors about him having a staph infection. I don't know how true those are, so I'm not gonna, you know, make a big deal out of it until I see tomorrow at the weigh-ins if that is true or not. But without it, if he doesn't have it, I would say that I think that Conor does make good adjustments in rematches. I mean, we've seen him with Nate Diaz. People say that Conor can only win in the 7 minutes or so, but then how did he win a decision against Nate Diaz, who has tremendous cardio? You know what I mean? He did win the round number 4 in that fight. he lost the round 5 and 3, but he won the first 2 and the 4. So I think he does have ability to win later rounds. He might not get a finish in the later round, but I think it's possible that he can be extended and win rounds there. I think I expect Conor to move a lot better in this fight. And I think that's going to be the biggest difference maker. I expect him to kick Dustin's leg himself. Dustin has been hurt to the leg against Jim Miller. And, I actually had Dustin in that fight, and I was sweating balls, man. It was not looking good. I mean, he was able to pull away, and win the decision, but it was not a good look. Against Dan Hooker, man, he went life and death against Dan Hooker. I mean, if you give
That's
Dan
why
Hooker,
I was tempted the first time.
and I actually had Dan Hooker in that fight, and if you give Dan Hooker 20, 30 more seconds at the end of, I believe, round 2, maybe Dustin gets knocked out, and that's the small margins we kind of play with in this game, right? Sometimes things go your way and sometimes things don't go your way. It doesn't mean that necessarily you're the worst fighter if you lost. So I think that Conor, with the right mindset, with the right approach, I think he should be, favored. But I'm not sure what Conor we're getting. I need to see that press conference tonight. I'm really excited about that. I'm sure you guys will watch that.
You guys got bets on that? There's lines for that. Let's see.
No,
Conor
I don't.
I'm
not as degenerate to bet on press conferences.
I'm with you there.
Maybe I should up my game. But I'm excited to see the weigh-ins, the face-offs. I'm gonna be honest. I do have a bet on Conor at plus 107. I did bet 2 units. I think it was about a week ago on Bet Online. For now, I mean, I haven't put any of my bets on Bet MMA. I'm kind of waiting until the weigh-ins and everything to see what I want to track or not. Yeah, I mean, I do think Conor's gonna win. But if Dustin wins, would it surprise me? No. I don't expect the same fight to play out as last time. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes past 2 rounds here. But ultimately, I'm gonna lean with Conor, and I might be biased here, but whatever. I think he does have a good chance to win this one if he moves better. And at the end of the day, even in that second fight, he did land some good shots. That killer instinct was just not there for whatever reason.
Yeah, what do you think about how that fight played out? Are you of the mind that Dustin was dominating? Because
I am not of that mind. Dustin, even when he got Conor down, Conor was able to get up really quickly. I thought Conor won the clinch exchanges. He landed some good knees to the body. I think at space, Conor looked faster. Dustin landed some good right hooks, check right hooks, even before the one that really hurt Conor before the stoppage. There were a few right hooks before when, Dustin was pointing at him. But honestly, I think the moment where Conor fucked up was when he landed that nice uppercut that Dustin did not see, and it really rocked him, but he didn't press forward. If Conor presses forward at that moment, I think he could have finished him. And I think he's going to be much sharper here mentally, and I think if he sees the opportunity, he will finish it. So.
And he also went back to that a lot. Like, he kept leaning over his right leg a lot, and that's why Dustin could land his right leg. Right?
Yeah, I think Conor's going to be a lot more tricky. I think he's going to throw more kicks. I think he's going to move in and out. He might even, switch stances here and there. I think it's just going to be a lot trickier fight for Dustin here. And, like I said, I think a week or 2 ago on Twitter, I said that, Conor at his best is better than, Dustin at his best. So, and if we get Conor, in his most, optimal, shape and mental, I think he can beat him. So we'll see what happens. But I'm going to say Conor by a second round stoppage.
Sounds like a plan. Sorry about the Wi-Fi glitches there for a minute, folks.
You're good.
To go back to what you had said, Z, how would I think that second fight went? I feel like Conor was making a couple tactical mistakes. Like, the first kick that he threw was 25 seconds left in the round. He throws like a spinning hook kick or something, but he didn't really commit to kicking offense. Like, he stalked Dustin with both hands up in like a tight boxing guard. And I was kind of baffled. I'm used to this. I'm used to one hand out, long, flowing, deceptive. And to me, it almost looked like a regression from Conor.
He froze.
Yeah, he froze right there. It looks like
stand.
Conor's in the chat with us right now. But just as far as how the fight was playing out, like how the fight was playing out, like, do you think who was winning that fight, like at a round and a half into it? Or I don't know, when did it end? Did it end before that?
It ended literally just over the round and a half, like 2 seconds later.
Yeah, whoever had under 1.5, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they got brutalized. But I think that, I would have said that Dustin was winning the second round pretty clearly. I would have said that Conor had won the first round close. And I also think that, what was concerning for me in that fight was that Conor just seemed like a little rote, like a little more predictable than I remember him being. Where's the teep to the body, which was essential to gassing people out? Where's the spinning back kicks, which are essential to stopping somebody from circling away from the left hand? Just certain critical elements of his game that hold it together, in my opinion, and make it special. I didn't see them. Can we see them in this fight? Absolutely. Am I hoping for that as a Conor fan? Yes, I am. But that's where I'm a little concerned, is that the most recent offering from Conor, I thought was lacking. I did think it was, too boxing centric. I thought it didn't look like himself. And I think that, creative Conor wins. That's when Conor wins.
So is that
creative Conor wins?
That's
when
something
he's
that
trying to fight like anybody else.
Someone? You? Z? You?
What?
I thought you were saying something. I wanted.
Liam Fro. I was just saying, like, if it's the approach that's the problem, that can just be a tactical adjustment. It's not like Conor's incapable.
I do think
of
that
making
he's just.
I don't think Conor's washed. Okay, I don't think Conor is washed. I watched it.
I don't think so.
When I watched it the first time, not in my best sober mind, and I was disappointed. But watching it back a few times, I think that Conor still has the speed. He still has the ability to be unpredictable. He just wasn't at all. I think he had that prediction, I'm going to knock out Dustin in the first 60 seconds, and then he just wanted to make a perfect, whatever shot like that he was looking at with the boxing. That's what he was looking at. And now that he has that loss and everyone is doubting him, I think that's a good situation for him to be in, because as you remember, back in his run at 145, he was always doubted, right? When he fought, right before he fought Chad Mendes, people were
always a favorite though.
Well, no, I'm just saying in terms of, like, a lot of people are saying, hey, how is he going to deal with the wrestler? Like, how's Chad Mendes, he's going to take him down. How is he going to deal with it? There's those doubts. But then coming into the second fight with Dustin, there was no doubts, right? Everyone was saying Conor's going to dust him. Right. And now people are saying, well, he's washed and, he's just going to lose, right? I think that's what we need to bring the best Conor. That's my thing.
And that's something you see too, is the classic, like, pushback on a hyped prospect. Like, there'll be this hyped prospect, and sometimes it's after they lose, but sometimes it's on their run. Is people are so ready to fade them and push back and say, no, he's not that good. You know what I mean? And that was the narrative every time, is like, well, it's a step up. He's not that good. He beats Dustin. Well, it's a step up. And then also I just wanted to highlight that we always talk about recency bias, and so the recency bias is Dustin just knocked him out, and that image of Conor being knocked out for the first time is fresh in everyone's mind, and that imprints. And it's like there was a point in time where everybody thought Barboza would get knocked out every single fight because he'd been dropped a couple times, and you were able to get him at good prices versus like Pettis and stuff. And I think when a fighter is knocked out, how is he the dog? I saw that. I wasn't really paying attention.
That one hurts, boys. Don't bring that one up, please.
I know.
That was a weird one though, right? But like, but so that kind of, I might be playing a factor into the line too, is just the memory, the visual of him being knocked out, and people are just like, oh well, Dustin will just land a punch and it'll be done again,
Yeah, and I think another ridiculous thing that I've heard is that people say that Conor is not a good 155er, man. Like, are we just gonna ignore what he did to Eddie Alvarez? Eddie Alvarez, who went to pretty close fights with Dustin Poirier. Like the second fight before he got finished, if you remember, he was in a dominant position, and then it was like a 12-6 elbow, right? And then he lost the position, and then he gets finished within a minute afterwards. But if that doesn't happen, Eddie Alvarez, you know, he was on the way to do some damage. And in the first,
he's always going to war, man. With Hooker, with Gaethje, right. He's always in there going to war, so, relying on that durability.
That's why there's that 1,000+ head strikes, seventh most in UFC and WEC combined history.
Conor arguably is the only guy that won a round against Khabib, right? That third round, arguably.
True, and I think it's T-Bow. Come on, that was a weird one. But what do I want to say? I think it's just for lack of evidence that they're like, oh, he's not that good at 155 because he actually hasn't fought that often at 155. But as far as what weight class does he fit the best, I think it's 155, unless he can make 45 again, which I think those days are done.
Right. So just like you said, I think the recency bias is too huge, and I don't expect the same thing to happen again.
We're all going to look like fanboys, guys. We gave some good analysis and good picks throughout the card, and then we all picked.
Shut off the stream.
Well, to be clear, boys, I think that the value side might be Conor McGregor, but I would have to outright favor Dustin Poirier right now based on what we know. And here's why I say that. Dustin Poirier, again, has been putting in the time, effort, and energy. Like, yes, he's absorbed the head strikes, but you have to be fighting to absorb head strikes. And Dustin Poirier has been doing a lot of fighting against the best guys in the world. And he's been winning those fights with the exception of the Khabib fight. Michael Johnson notwithstanding, that was in 2016. So since 2016, Dustin Poirier has been fighting the class of lightweight and beating them. And he's done it on the feet. He's done it on the ground. Like, if you had to say who has more paths to win this fight, I think Dustin is obviously the answer. I think that if you were to say who has the chance of winning this fight over 2.5 rounds, who has a better chance, I think you'd have to say Dustin based on what we know right now. Fair. And so then it comes down to, where do you cap Conor McGregor's chance to knock him out in the first 2 rounds? And I think that you can get that number up to 50%. You could get that number up to 55%, but you have to start saying, like, am I being practical? Am I hoping for an outcome, or am I thinking that this outcome is real? Because I am hoping for that outcome, and I'm thinking it's possible that it's real, but I'm also saying I saw Conor do better in 2014 than he did in 2021.
Right.
That's what I'm seeing, and so I'm then left with, do I want to get involved on Conor now? I didn't get involved on Dustin at plus 250, right? So I'm not betting Dustin now. But does that mean I have to get involved at Conor at plus 103? I do have new information. And the new information says to me that Dustin's competitive at boxing range. Like, whether he's winning every exchange or not, he was competitive at boxing range, right? He was finding Conor, getting overextended, which is what Conor does, looking for the left hand with the check hook pretty often. I don't know that he's going to do that every time, but I do think that, again, that's new evidence. We hadn't seen Dustin, really put off Conor with the check
same
hook.
way, man. We don't, like, if Conor's came into that second fight with a boxing heavy approach and got his leg chewed up, he knows that now. So now he can approach it a different way. He's like, okay, maybe I won't do that. Like, are we sure is he incapable of reverting back to his longer range style?
I hope not. Just to really quick point out what Lags the Capper just jumped in the chat, says under 2.5 rounds, minus 130. I'm right there with you at minus 125, good sir. And he also says the market has massively overreacted from last fight, minus 300 to plus 120. I tend to agree, but now we're seeing that Conor McGregor action start to come back in. Notorious,
also, I'll add one thing. Even in the last fight, Conor still won the round 1. So if you want to jump in and bet Dustin Poirier, why not just bet him between rounds 1 and 2?
Or best case, bet Conor now and then live bet Poirier after round 1 or round 2.
And I do remember this image of myself because I had Conor by KO. I remember I didn't bet the money line, but I remember after round 1, I had Bet Online open, and I was looking at that Dustin Poirier line live, and being drunk and whatever. I was like, could I bet this? And I didn't because of the emotional thing.
That's why I hate live betting, because you got to be like,
I know. I was too emotional because Conor is like my guy, So, but that's fine. This time if that happens, I will pull the trigger. I think so. That's what I'm gonna say. Oh, we lost our host. He's gone.
Liam's had enough of our fanboy shit.
Yeah, he's done.
Oh my god.
Oh shit. That's the stance we want to see, though.
Yeah. That was his prime, when he had the chest tattoo but no stomach tattoo. That was what.
Right here, man. This is what we need.
That's what I'm saying.
Not here.
And no stomach tattoo. I agree with that too. Yeah, he was better back then. But yeah,
well, lads, I think that we have.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we obviously wrapping this up. What is your hottest take for the card? Either of you two.
I think it's Condit, because like I said, I think this line should be flipped. Like I think he'll look like one of the best bets on the card, and not saying, like, again, I think he wins a 60%, right? I just think he should be the favorite. I don't know why I know why, but like I just think that line is wrong. So as far as what line is off by the most, I'd say that.
Okay. What about you?
Lags also threw in Conor winning the first 2 rounds seems like a high clip outcome in my opinion. Tend to agree with you there. Who domination incoming also contributed by Lags. I know that Notorious agrees with that one. So what was your
me?
most
I'm the one who got in at plus
confident
150. I was on who? On who?
I mean, Z was ahead of me for sure.
Z, oh my goodness. How could I forget? First to act, Z.
Right. All right. Well,
I said first to act.
Yeah. What did you say, Notorious?
Mine was plus 120. So on the hue, but my
still a better line than is available on the market now. So
yeah, my hot take is Kris Moutinho by flying triangle. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not picking him. I'm just gonna say that. I'm gonna say that I don't know how hot of a take this is, but I think we're gonna see 5-6 underdogs hitting this on this card. So that is my.
Wow.
And, if you want me to tell you which ones, all right, I can tell you that too. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say the Yaozong is 1. I'm gonna say that Jessica I is 2. I'm gonna say that Condit is 3. I'm gonna say that Conor is 4. And I'm gonna say that Omari Akmehdov. That's gonna be my 5th one.
No, not Omari. Giles. Giles is a better dog than Omari.
He's not even a dog. He's like pick him, bro.
Oh, I got dog money. I don't know what you're talking about.
But it's closing odds. We're talking about closing odds, man.
Fair play.
So yeah, that's my hot take. What about you, host? What's your hot take?
I can rock with those hot takes, man. I think that I would probably say my hot take is Yana Kunitskaya is probably going to mop Irene Aldana 29-28 at worst. But I think Yana is a pretty comfortable spot there as a dog. She's one of my favorite looks. From a dog perspective, I also went in with you guys on that Carlos Condit play. I like the plus 170 number. I'm not completely sold on Griffin as a 2-1 favorite in that spot.
If that one loses, I'm gonna have to send location, Z.
Oh no,
that's okay. That's fine.
But I also think
we can have our own pay-per-view
round 3 plus 1,000 would
I
be
heard
like my
that's okay. I'm down.
Sorry, you're talking at the same time. What's that?
I was just saying I heard your cardio sucks, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, but don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I won't need cardio to dust your ass.
Oh shit. I'm just shooting for the legs and submitting you. I got some good grappling.
Oh shit.
So, gentlemen, if you want, real quick, we could just give a quick pick on the way out. Just overall, who do you think's going to win? We'll go around. I'll start first. I got who in the first matchup of the night? Notorious. Who you got?
I got the same Yaozong.
Yaozong.
Yaozong. All right. Moving on. Zhumagulov, Rivera. Who do we got, boys?
I got Zhumagulov by greasy decision.
Yeah, I got Zhalgas. I'll say he finishes Rivera with knockout.
Cool. I will also take Zhalgas. Not incredibly confident. Wouldn't bet it at the price. Omari, Akmehdov, Brad, Tavares. I'll take Tavares by decision.
I got Omari by KO.
Tavares decision.
Okay. Now we've got Jennifer Maia, Jessica I. I know what we all want to happen.
Yeah, I got Jessica by flying triangle. No, just Jessica I, probably money line.
I decision.
I will say I'm outright favoring a Maia decision, but I think that the value side is Jessica I. And I don't have a bet yet, but considering adding it, especially at the number. 185, Giles, Duplessis, make the call, Notorious.
Never Giles. I'm taking the other guy by submission.
Giles knockout. Giles knockout.
I will take I just need violence, but I will take Duplessis knockout round 2. Hall Topuria.
Topuria TKO.
Topuria awkward decision.
Shit. Also, these are subject to change on Twitter, by the way. I'm going to go with Topuria. I'm going to go Ryan Hall by greasy decision, but that is, again, subject to change on Twitter.
That's a hot take right there.
There's another hot take for you. I don't know, man. I feel like that's a hard fight to win. Although Ilia Topuria might knock him out on the first exchange, make it look easy. That's why I haven't bet it. 170, Niko Price, Michel Pereira. Who do you got?
I got Niko Price. I'm going to bet him live after round 1, 29-28.
I got Pereira, a frustrating decision. I think those two fights, Hall and Topuria and Price and Pereira, will just be very awkward. But yeah, I think Pereira keeps his range and coasts.
I think Pereira late finish, maybe third round, probably TKO. Carlos Condit, Max Griffin.
Oh, well, we know what Z's saying here, right?
Condit via Kimura from the top.
Oh, shit. I didn't know that. I'm going to say Condit by decision.
Nice. And I will also take Condit by decision. We've got Sean O'Malley, Chris Moutinho.
Suga by dick twist.
Yeah, O'Malley knockout.
O'Malley KO 2. Irene Aldana, Yana Kunitskaya.
Irene knockout.
Ooh, I love it, Z.
I'm gonna say Aldana. Fuck it, I'll say round 3, KO.
I will take Yana Kunitskaya decision. Greg Hardy, Tai Tuivasa.
Tuivasa TKO.
That's fair. Fuck it. I'm gonna switch back to Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy round 1.
Greg Hardy via decision. Gilbert Burns, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson.
Wonderboy knockout. Down the pipe clean.
Wonderboy by spinning shit round 2.
I am gonna say Wonderboy decision, but I am not confident in that pick. Dustin Poirier, when he's going to call out Nate Diaz. Okay, thank you for the contribution, Javier. I'm not sure. Maybe if he wins this one. Probably not, though, because Nate's coming off the loss. Guys, main event. Make the call. We're out of here on this. Who do you got? The big one. The third dance.
I'll say Conor by second round stoppage.
Yeah, Conor KO. Around that time as well.
Conor McGregor, round 1, knockout. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. And if I'm wrong, I just hope it goes under 2.5 again, because your kid does not have the confidence to bet it. But I will be riding with the man, out of Dublin, Ireland, our boy, Conor McGregor. Hopefully he can get one back for the Irish. And I really think that this is going to be a hell of a card. I appreciate you guys for sticking with us. Anybody who jumped in the live chat who had something to say, we always appreciate that. You can get at each and every one of us on the Twitter machine. At Liam Picks Fights is where you can find me. Boys, tell them where they could find you on the way out.
Yeah, they can find me at Notorious_Picks.
Heck yeah.
And Z?
Z's MMA on Twitter, YouTube, BetMMA.
And one last thing, guys. Do we think that the Bronx makes a successful title defense against either of the guys?
That's an interesting one.
I would want to see who wins to make a better determination.
Right.
I actually think Dustin's a horrible matchup for Charles in a lot of ways, but
I think either way it's new.
I could definitely see it. I think that both guys have upside, but I do think that Charles could probably exploit McGregor with his takedowns. Charles' takedown game is a little underrated. Very, very good clinch takedowns, body locks. I do think that Conor's probably the stronger, little more physical guy, but Charles growing into his body, I feel like he might have a little bit more to offer, probably just a little hittable at space. So it would take on a similar dynamic. If Conor touches him, he's dead. But if he gets around Conor, Conor's been submitted by lesser men.
Sounds good. All right. Well, that was fun.
Yeah. I had a hell of a time, boys. And like I said, I appreciate everybody who hopped in the chat. Everybody, I love talking about these damn fights. You can always find me on social media, Liam Picks Fights on Twitter and Instagram. Also, you could subscribe to this channel. If you want to help out, you can go ahead and like this video. I really appreciate when you do. And we're just going to keep hammering away. It is the good guys versus the bookies each and every week. We'll be back doing it again, whether I'm in the New York studios, whether I'm cobbling together a show from my friend's bedroom in Ohio. I'm always trying to put out something new. Liam Picks Fights each and every week for you guys, and UFC 264 should be an absolute goddamn banger. I appreciate you boys for riding with me. It is the good guys versus the bookies. I hope that you cash your tickets, whether you follow us, whether you fade us, whether you're with us or against us. Just know that we're going to have a heck of a time, and God bless each and every one of you fight fans. Enjoy those fights and enjoy your Saturday night. Let's make this money. Thank you, boys, very much for your participation. We'll see you on the other side. Be well, boys.